Well, I think we're live. I hope we're live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to Legacy Division. We are here tonight, of course, for round number 6, I believe, of the championship, as we take in, of course, the Austrian Grand Prix from, of course, the Red Bull Ring. As you can tell, this is my first seat in the commentary box for Legacy Division. My name is James Head. I'm delighted to be taking the stream, of course, as always, on this fine Tuesday evening. And joining me on the commentary box, reunited at last on the right-hand side, it is Mr. Evan Dalton. Evan, how you doing?
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, we are over the negative FPS that trailer just brought, but nevertheless, we are here around the Red Bull Ring in the Austrian hills for what should be an absolute cracker here in the Legacy Division. We had a great race last time, Ed, in Azerbaijan. Austria should hopefully be even better.
It should be indeed. It's been a long 2 weeks as well since Legacy Division was last live, of course, and that break week brought us a big change in terms of the drivers' standings, or in terms of the team standings, to say as well. I've got the drivers' standings set up in OBS. That's why that's why I got confused there. But Talon Factory leading the way on 157 points. They've got some sort of domination, I think, so far, and a stranglehold over Legacy Division so far. Outplayed Racing in second on 97. Visceral Esports in third on 77. Just realised that they're spelt wrong on the graphic, which is not a great look for them. Paradox Sim Racing, PSR, in fourth on 73. Juventus in fifth on 32, with Team Chazoo in sixth on 29. They had a bit of controversy in EML Premier, which I'll come on to a little bit later on. Nexus in 7th on 27. WOR Esports in 8th on 23. Summit Racing Team in 9th on 20. And then Team Valor in 10th on 11 points. And Evan, of course, you were here 2 weeks ago in Baku, alongside, I believe it was Callum, you were alongside then. Talent Factory holding the lead, 60 points over OP. Visceral Esports not entirely out of it either, but Talent Factory so far been so dominant.
They've been so dominant and they've been so far in front. Azerbaijan was only the second race where they haven't won. It was PSR Wilson who took the win last time at in Azerbaijan. But it's been a long 2 weeks. Hopefully that is, I suppose, an opportunity to refresh the mindset. Maybe some drivers and teams, maybe we can get a more interesting championship coming forward. But certainly Talent Factory have looked really, 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 I cannot stress really and good enough. They have been, look, by far the best drivers and teams so far in this championship. Even when things went wrong, they still finished second and third, and that was what we saw in Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan was a really messy race here in the Legacy Division. It was a really messy race in the usual World Online Racing divisions, and Austria, I think, will be equally as messy. We've seen some league racing controversy here in the past. Part of me hopes we see it again.
Part of me hopes we do see it again. I famously commentated on Rudy around here in a completely different league on the console tier. And Rudy absolutely dive bombed everyone down in towards turn number 1. Hopefully we're not going to get that at all down in towards turn number 1 tonight in Austria. We are a little bit delayed, by the way, if you're wondering why we're not turning live to the action out on track. Currently 16 drivers in the lobby. I believe we are missing 2 or 3 drivers at this moment in time. I think it's more from the PS side rather than the Xbox side. I think all the Xbox guys I can certainly see are in. Big news as well from the PSR franchise as well, from Paradox Sim Racing. They have got Rusty and Smokey coming into their lineup, of course, for this round here in Austria. They've been added, of course, to their team roster, and I've seen them both commentating. I've commentated on console tier, and honestly, the racing that they've had in there, they should really live up to the expectation that PSR really expected them.
Well, I think it's Nick and Smokey who are here for PSR this evening. Is that what you said, James? Am I running slow as well?
I think I got the wrong name there.
Fair enough. Rusty is here for N or X, but I think Nick is the guy you're on about, and Nick is that guy. He is very, very quick. So is Smokey, and PSR have brought in the big guns after a good result last time out in Azerbaijan. PSR Wilson are in first position. Or PSR Wilson finished in first position, I should say. He's not in first position because we haven't started qualifying, have we? But yes, PSR Wilson finished first in Azerbaijan, and Sav finished in sixth position. They picked up some good points because, let's be honest, there was a few disappointed with PSR start to the season. I saw a few comments that were quite disappointed with how PSR started this season. It was them and FRA were the two big dogs on Xbox, maybe in the last season of the Legacy Division. But the big guns have come in certainly for PSR. We're expecting even bigger things maybe this evening. Maybe they're looking for a 1-2 as well.
Yeah, definitely so. Mr. Harris there in the chat is picking up on the Visceral Esports glitch that we've got in terms of the graphics. Do not blame me. I don't do these graphics. Blame Mr. Luke Humphreys, the WR owner, who I'm just going to out right now on stream. I know he is out watching the football somewhere. So, yeah, he, I think, has done a bit of a boo-hoo, let's just say, in terms of the spelling mistake there for VSR. That, of course, they are Visceral Esports Racing, to give them their full name as well. I was looking, by the way, at the driver lineup when I was coming on to Rusty. It was Nick, of course, and, of course, it's just gone. Smokey and Nick, who are representing them tonight for PSL. We could have a run down the full lineup, actually, of who's going to be driving tonight. The drivers are just beginning to ready up, I believe, in the lobby. Talent Factory Esports, represented by Mr. Taicho Hardy, Rudy, and TF Legend. Very, very good pairing, I've got to say, for Talent Factory. M Racer and Sam McCabe for VSR. Nexus Racing, represented by Lucas in, actually, for Sam McCabe. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
It is indeed. Rusty and Levi representing Nexus Racing. Outplayed Racing is Asacom and Ray, of course, two drivers that have been providing themselves in PSGL F1. Shazoo represented by Jensen and Axe, of course, now known, of course, as Aurelian. So that should be a very interesting lineup. Aurelian, of course, nearly wrapping up the PSGL F2 Championship last season. Me and you had a very good point on that. Summit League Racing Team represented by Risks and Simba Rocks 1. Hopefully I've got those pronunciations right. We'll see the drivers very soon out on track. WOR represented by Carl Person and Dan. Juventus represented by Tyne and Mosi. They had the same lineup, I believe, for EML. Arch and Ogween in there for Valor Gaming. And then Nick and Smokey in for PSR. Very strong lineup for PSR. They look to take the fight, of course, along with OP, to Talent Factory coming into tonight. We are just getting going into the lobby. Before that, though, let's have a look at the track map in question. 4.3 kilometres length, 2.6 mile, 10 turns away to now. Drivers out on track. 3 DRS zones, one down the start finish straight up in towards a louder curve at turn number 1, one in towards Remus at turn number 3 at the top of the hill, and then one down in towards Schlossgold at turn number 4. And Evan, this is a track where sometimes it provides really good racing, might just get a bit aggressive and a bit hectic out on track potentially.
Yeah, it can get a bit aggressive and a bit hectic for anyone who is sort of not one of the newer sim racing fans and has been with us through, say, F1 2021. You might remember a certain incident where a certain Dutchman threw his headphones on the floor. That's how heated it can get here in the Red Bull Ring. Also a track that can maybe throw a shower of rain at you. Of course, we are here in the Styrian hills of Austria. Austria, a European country. All European countries seem to get their fair share of rain, unless you're Spain, Portugal, and maybe Italy at the best of times. But certainly some rain available here in Austria. It's quite sunny in qualifying, and James, I think we're going to head to the on-track action now.
We are indeed. Q1 about to begin. My second experience of full qualifying actually on this game. My first experience was on Sunday, so I'm getting very much used to doing full qualifying on this game. Of course, Q1, with being 19 drivers in the lobby, the bottom 4 get eliminated at the end of this session. So the bottom 4, that's 15 down to 19, do get eliminated out of Q1. Q2, of course, 5 get eliminated from that down to P10, so P11 down to P15 get eliminated in Q2. And then in Q3, of course, we get the fastest drivers out on track to go for that pole position with the 50% race, 36 laps away to now drivers out on track as well. Car Person probably is the first man out on track, the Alfa Romeo, of course, and he, I believe, is the sole Alfa Romeo for tonight as well. I believe one of the drivers there alongside him would have been Dan. I think Dan was having a software issue, if I'm not mistaken. Car Person, though, only driving for WR tonight. It's a bit of a disadvantage, though. They're down, of course, to that one driver, but that means also that it can just focus individually on that one person.
Yeah, it is, but this is the second consecutive week they've only had one person, and it was not so good for WOR last time out. Crispy in the comments, Crispy absolutely goated human being, saying that we're going to have some rain in the race, so that makes things very, very interesting. And you will see some drivers like Jensen, Asacombe, Tyne, and Smokey maybe use their intermediates in qualifying. You don't necessarily want to do that if there's going to be rain in the race. You'll want to keep a set, but certainly they feel they have enough sets, and that is Simbarox retiring. That is due to a qualifying ban for Team SLR.
That is indeed, as Car Person in towards Remus at turn number 3, 16.1 in the first sector, not looking too bad at all. He's on that set of soft compound tyres, so this is the first insight we really get to see on terms of the lap times. We should see as the session goes on and the track evolution, of course, picks up, we should see around a 4/10 improvement and then maybe a 3 or 4/10 improvement again into Q3, which will be very interesting indeed. As Carl now comes out of turn number 5 into the Pirelli curve at turn number 6. This looking pretty good, I've got to say, from the sole WOR man out on track. 44.9, nowhere near what we should be expecting towards the end of the session. He invalidates nearly coming out of turn number 7. He's very fortunate, actually, to get out the chicane unscathed in towards the right-hander of turn number 9. And this has looked like a pretty decent lap, I've got to say, from his perspective. I don't want to ruin it, though. Nearly commentators cursed. Coming through turn number 9, through turn number 10 at the Red Bull Mobile curve on the run to the line at a 104.8 to start off the night. I think Jensen may be one of the next ones to start up on a lap as well. But he, as you mentioned, Evan, is keeping a set of dry compounded tyres ready for later on in the session. He's on that set of intermediate, so we're not going to get a full run. I think Asicum is potentially doing the same as well.
Yeah, it's a good tactic from Jensen. There was a double Q3 appearance for Team Shizou last time out in Azerbaijan, so certainly they are prepping themselves for another visit to the final part of qualifying, hence why Jensen is using the intermediates in the earlier stages. Decent run from car person, decent banker here in qualifying 1. We're not going to see any lap records beaten, certainly here in the first part of qualifying, but for those who are interested, actually I don't have the lap record written down. I was going to read it out, don't have it written down, but it is a lot quicker than a 104.820. And hopefully, we see a lot quicker times than that, because I think James would be a bit disappointed if the fastest lap in Q3 was a 104.820.
I would be a bit disappointed. I have had a very much big glitch on my end. Give me a second, because my picture has just froze on the Elgato. I could talk you what's going on out on track. Carl Person leads the way, Jensen second. He said a 108.2 on a set of inters. My Elgato, I think, has just crashed on me within OBS, which is not that great at all. I'm going to try and fix it there. There we go. Literally just need to be turned off and on again. And the game volume should be there. I saw Charlie mention about the game volume. That is what happens when you've got a commentary box in the background, your camera on, and the CPU just absolutely tanks on you in terms of your laptop. But Car Person out on top. Asicum now in second, 107.7. Of course, onto a set of soft compounded tyres. Normally, when I say I see full wet conditions, of course, out on track with the inters, I normally say there's around an 8-second differentiation between dries and wets. Only because it's in dries, it's probably half that, so it's around a 4-second gap, and Asicum proving that's less than 3 seconds, in fact, the gap between Car Person and Asicum, but he is currently out on top. Ray just starting up on a run, Mosi as well on a set of inters, Nick on a set of inters, Rusty on a set of inters, nothing really happening in the early stages of qualifying, but Car Person out on top, getting the first lap time on the board, and Evan, looking at the rest of the times, of course, being set, they've obviously on that set of inters. But is Car Person's lap time rather representative of what we're going to see later on in the session, or is it going to be a bit quicker?
I'd say that it's probably good enough to get through Q1 at this point. I'd say they're going to need a little quicker than a 104.820. I don't necessarily know what most of the pace of these guys are like, but I wouldn't say that's the best of laps from Car Person. But nevertheless, stream is all back on the go. I thought I was going to have to do some BBC radio for a few moments, as there's some quite impressive driving on the intermediates, I have to say. Being only 2.8 seconds off the lap set on a set of intermediates is not bad going, especially when the sun is quite literally splitting the stones here in the Red Bull Ring.
It definitely is. It definitely is. We are a third of the way through qualifying. Car Person out on top, Rusty in second, Nick in third. If you are just tuning in at this point, you haven't really missed at all out on track. Joseph also saying drivers must remain within the track limits defined by the white line at the edge of the track. These are from the track notes, I believe, that were released a little bit earlier on. Extending track limits is not allowed during qualifying, the sprint race and the Grand Prix. We've already seen that, I think, from Car Person coming through turn number 9, extending track limits. He was valid, however, coming through turn number 9, and he did back off the throttle, which I think is a big, is what drivers could do potentially in terms of obviously trying to keep that valid lap time out on track. A Car Person has done that out on track. The corners noted for possible extensions and corner cuts and gaining an advantage of turn 1 at the exit of turn number 1, turn number 6, turn number 7 at the exit, and then turn 9 and 10 also at the exit curbs through turn 9 and 10. If you're extending qualifying and all your laps have been invalidated, you must slow down and abandon your lap. Failure to do so may result in a penalty, so Car Person might be ending up in a little spot above her potentially.
I think if he improves his lap, he should be fine. I think if you're reporting first lap in Q1. It's slightly petty. I can understand why people do it, but I think if he can improve that time, he shouldn't really get a penalty, should he? Because he beat the lap that, I suppose, if you want to put it in funny talk, he cheated technically on. I know it's a little track limits extension, but the Oxford English Dictionary would probably define it as technically cheating. But nevertheless, we're finally going to get some laps on the softs here. I think Lucas is heading around the final corner for the new This Cereal team, according to the graphic in all of your favourite convenience stores soon. But Lucas heading into turn number 1, then the Nicky Lauda curve. Lucas is a driver who I think everyone expects to get through this Q1 session, so if he got knocked out here, it'd be slightly disappointing.
Yeah, definitely so. VSR now on their lap as well with M-Racer. M-Racer is actually behind him out on track as VSR Lucas through that first sector. Purple out of everyone in the first sector. We've only had one valid lap time really on the board in terms of a set of softs. So this is where we really get to see, I think, from a VSR perspective, where their pace is. Of course, it is only Q1. If they are going to make it through to Q2 and Q3, they've really got to up their game and they've really got to take the fight, of course, to OP and Talent Factory and the other teams as well. Out here, 10 teams, of course, participating out on track here in Austria. 44.8 in the middle sector. Shows purple on my screen. I don't think that's actually purple in terms of car person's middle sector. But Lucas has looked pretty good, I've got to say, on this lap. In towards the right-hander of turn number 9 at Verth Curve, and then in towards the right-hander of turn number 10 at the Red Bull Mobile Curve. Negotiating that very nicely indeed. Takes off the curve on the left-hand side, on the run to the line, goes quicker, 1 on 4.6, and shows me that I can eat my own words.
Might have been a little bit harsh for car persons 104.8 then. That doesn't look half bad now that Lucas has crossed the line. M-Racer has invalidated his lap, but I think he's just lifted off the power. He saved a bit of his battery and he's going to go again, but Lucas sets the new pace, 104.670. Not half bad for VSR. They'll be looking to improve on that, as I think Paul will be a little bit quicker than a 104.6. But there is some more drivers who are on good runs. Levy sets a 44.7 in the middle sector. It's got purple on my screen. However, I do have to agree. 47 on that lap. I don't believe it is purple.
I think it is. I think he's better 10th up actually on this lap compared to Lucas. 44.84 something, I think. And Levi
44.6.
44.7. Levi though on the run to the line goes quicker. 104.3. Big lap in from him. Ugween has just started up on a lap. M-Racer as well invalidated his run. Nick, I think, has a comb potentially on laps. Tyne has just started on his run as well. And Nick actually 16 flat in the first sector is obviously 5/10 up. But we'll get to see now what the main man is made of out on track. Coming through the middle sector, 44.738. He is roughly around 7,000th of a second quicker than Levi at this stage. Theoretically, of course, we are now talking about coming through turn number 9 and then through the right hand of turn number 10. This is looking a very quick lap as Rusty there goes into 4th, Lucas there 3rd, and Mason there 2nd as well. Nick now on the run to the line puts it now between reach and literally, what did I say? 7,000th of a second?
Yeah,
I'll take that.
hold on. That's an absolute cracking prediction, James. Smokey's is on a run now as well, as we start to see all the big guns come out for qualifying, as the two Talent Factory drivers are exiting the pit lane. Ogween as well has invalidated his lap, unfortunately. There's a lot of invalidations here in the early parts of the session. Huge improvements in that first sector because, of course, they're all on the intermediates. Smokey about to head through the second sector split. Now, let's see what he's managed to set. 44.7 is what he's looking to beat. It's a 44.797, so very close, as that's Arch, who's got to 3rd position.
Yeah, Smokey 500 down on Nick through the middle sector, so he might go ahead of Art, potentially the FRA man. Of course, they're in 3rd. Rusty actually now puts it 3rd with a 104.438 as now Smokey comes through the final couple of corners. The McLaren now on the run to the line for Peter's our team. He goes 4th, dead on, pretty much my prediction, 104.461. Mystic Bank did pass away, so if the Sun are wanting a bit of a sidekick, then they can always ask me. Nick out on top, Levi in 2nd, Rusty there in 3rd. Ogween has just started up on a run as well. I think he validated his last run, a 16 flat from him. Jensen and Aurelian have just started laps as well. And Aurelian, for me, was showing purple in the first sector, so he might be one to watch out for. Jensen's actually furthest on lap at this stage for the Shazoo team. Of course, Shazoo did come into a bit of criticism in midweek in the EML Premier. I'm not sure if anybody tuned in for it. If you didn't, you missed quite a lot because they purposely blocked one of the I think it was one of the, I don't know, I think it was Devon, whatever Devon's team is, FBR, he blocked one of the FBR drivers in EML Premier 1, and unfortunately they picked up a qualifying ban and, of course, a race ban as well. But Jensen now on the run to the line, he puts it into 8th, and Jensen, of course, has been going under, as that's coming out goes 8th as well. Jensen has been going under a bit of transformation. He has got a new wheel, new Fanatec on, and it looks like he's got the pace, but we've seen it so many times, Evan, as Aurelian goes 8th. Jensen really has to try and put a lap in, I think, to be safe, because at the minute, 104.6 might not be as safe as what I would imagine.
No, I don't think so, and I'd like to think my 104.8 prediction with Carperson has actually been quite okay. I think that's what he needs to get, or I think Carperson needs to improve to get through. Legend goes third. Let's see what Rudy can do, as Rudy's actually backed off, as a comment from Adrian there saying what happened to Simbarox has a qualifying ban, as James has just typed the reply. James isn't aware we have microphones. We're broadcasting to the general public, and we can say it. Rudy goes 18th position. That's the only time I'll ever say that in my life. But all drivers now, apart from Simbarox, have a lap on the board.
Gregerson as well saying in the chat, imagine getting a race ban, embarrassing. Yeah, I think it was all the way down to driving limits, of course, in Azerbaijan, in terms of real aggressive racing, I've got to say, in Azerbaijan as well. I watched the race a little bit earlier on, just catching up on my homework coming into tonight, and it was pretty aggressive stuff. Baku was always aggressive, I think, in terms of racing. I think that was just next level in terms of racing. Plug for our sponsors there as well, next level racing, along with Grid Finder. You will see the adverts a little bit later on. That wasn't intentional, I promise.
That was brilliant. Well done, James. I'm very impressed with that. Round of applause. That is sponsorship placement at its finest. Formula One could never.
Definitely. Talent Factory Rudy, by the way. Rudy now coming through the final couple of corners. He's actually going for a second run, so this lap was an inside lap. First of all, as a Haas spins in front of him, I think that was Mosi just finishing up on a run. Rudy now goes 13th.
Oh.
13th for Rudy. Of course, he's now one of the PC drivers, of course, for PSGL, as he nearly slides his way coming out of turn number 1 as well. He is a PC driver, so obviously transitioning back to PS might have lost some of that gusto, let's just say, from Rudy's perspective. But 13th, 104.6, that's not safe.
Oh, this makes things slightly interesting now. You can always hear when something happens in qualifying, you hear me with a little ooh or an ah maybe, but that makes things quite interesting here, because Rudy has to go again, which I imagine he's still going to get through to the next part of the session, but it's going to jeopardise him in the later stages, because the likes of Nick, Levy, Legend, Rusty will have an extra set of softs come Q3 maybe. Of course, the Formula 1 rules is that you do get given an extra set of the Pirelli soft compound tyres if you make it to the third part of qualifying, but you'll have to be in a scrub set at the start, and that just makes things very difficult, especially in your progression through Q2. But Rudy's going to have to get back in and go again, because there is no way him and Lucas are safe, and I have to say slightly disappointing from Elite Risks as well, as they're all going to have to go again. They cannot take that risk.
They definitely will. They don't have to take the risks out on track. That's a bad one, I know. But Elite Risk in 15th at this stage is the cut-off period. So 104.8 from Carperson all the way down. Simbarox, of course, is out of qualifying already as a result of that qualifying ban, as Evan mentioned a little bit earlier on. Levi thinks he's done enough. Legend thinks he's done enough. I think they've done enough as well. 104.4, I think, is pretty decent in terms of a banker lap time around here. Of course, we'll get into the 103s, I think, as the sessions goes on. But Nick out on top, Levi second, Legend and third. Carperson is now the first man out on track. He's now coming through the left-hander of turn number 7 and 8, and then to the chicane, of course, of the right-hander of turn number 8. The Carperson, now on the bubble, really needs to get a lap in. WOR pretty much putting every single bit of impetus, I think, into their driver here tonight, and Carperson sent about onto this lap, coming through the right-hander of turn number 10.
With the right-hander of turn number 10 and heading down in towards turn number 1, the newly named, or not really newly, but it's fairly newly, Nicky Ladder Curve. You want to take a look at that yellow apex on the right-hand side and run it to the yellow rumble strip on the exit of that corner. New chicane here for MotoGP fans, not for us Formula 1 cars. We fly up the hill in towards the braking zone of turn number 3. Lots of lockups possible here. Carperson runs a little bit wide on the apex, rotates the car, uses 4th gear and 5th gear short shift up to get the traction down. Didn't do it quite smoothly, did Carperson, as he's backed up. That's not going to be a lap to completion. Not what you want, really. That is not what you want, as I'm quite surprised to see some people going on track. I thought maybe the two Shizou cars would have stayed in the garages. They are relatively safe, but Lucas and Elite Risks out on track. Now Lucas gets on his merry way, and this is going to be a very interesting end to Q1.
It will be a very interesting end to Q1 indeed. Lucas coming through his first sector split. 16 flat, 8 thousandths up through the first sector. Risks is down 100th of a second. And he's now coming through the right-hand return number 8 with a Red Bull just in his way there to the right-hand side. I think that was Ogween potentially just pairing up on an outlap to go for his full run. But Risk's now coming through the final couple of corners through the right-hand return number 10 on the run toward the line. Is he going to go quicker than this 104.7? Yes, puts himself to 6th. I think he's probably safe with that lap as well. Archer's into the pit lane. So he's picked up front wing damage, I think, coming out of turn number 7. So Archer's the one into the pit lane. He's not going to improve. Aurelian is improving in towards the right-hander of turn number 9, I should say, then through the right-hander of turn number 10. This is literally nitty-gritty stuff here in WOR Legacy Division as Aurelian comes to the line. That is probably safe there in 6th, 104.513, 2,000 ahead of Risk. Jensen 400s up through the first sector as well. Lucas there going 6th. Good lap time from him. That should be him safe as well. Jensen apparently purple in the middle sector. 800s up through the middle sector split. Him on his Fanatec wheel needs to try and work in sync. However, not working in sync because just picked up an invalidation coming out of turn number 7.
Yeah, Rudy is improving. Imagine it will be enough, as it's only 2/10 off pole, or 2.5 off pole, is this 15th position. Rudy flies through the final gun. Oh, very lucky not to invalidate, I have to say. Rudy plows across the line, and that is P6 for him. M-Racer now on the bubble. Tyne not improving. Mosey, I think he was improving. He's got purple in the middle sector. Not too sure if that's official, but he certainly is improving, heading down towards the Rinth right-hander and in towards the Red Bull Mobile curve. This puts M-Racer in trouble if M-Racer cannot improve, but I think he is. Let's see, can Mosey beat M-Racer here in qualifying across the line? No, that puts M-Racer safe, and Juventus have a double knockout here in the first session of qualifying.
I think M-Racer's going to improve anyways. He doesn't in the end. 7,000 up, very consistent lap time from the VSR perspective. But Tyne and Mosey for Juventus, both out of the session. Carperson out of the session. Simba Rocks also out of the session as a result of that qualifying ban. And they are the 4 that go, of course, out of Q1. And then we go and transition, of course, into Q2 in a little while. But it's Nick out on top, Levi in second, Legend there in third. Top 13 in that session, Evan, covered by, in fact, actually top 15, covered by around 3.5 tenths of a second. We'll run down the full grid before we go to our Williams Esports advert. Nick out on top from Levi in second, Legend there in third, with Rusty there in fourth, Smokey there in fifth, Rudy in sixth, Lucas in 7th, Aurelian and Risk, by the way, same lap time in the end. Not 2,000 of a second quicker than Aurelian was on my screen. Risk there in 9th, Ray there in 10th, and then Ogween 11th, Archer in 12th, Asacum in 13th, Jensen 14th, M-Racer in 15th, 2.5 tenths of a second covering the top 15. Tyne in the end, very unluckily out of the session for 24 hundredths of a second. Mostly out in 17th, Carperson 18th, and Simba Rocks in 19th. They are the 4 that do not go forward in towards Q2. We are going to take a slight intermission break for around 30 seconds. Apologies if it does lag, but I will be back. We will be back in 30 seconds for Q2. And that was a word from our sponsors, of course, the Williams Esports Lounge. We are here tonight, though, for Legacy Division, and Q2 is about to begin. Still in beautiful blue skies and sunshine, of course. Crispy mentioned a little bit earlier on, we are due rain in the race. So this is the real session, I think, that will really try and get to see drivers making sure and making an absolute assurance that they're going to get onto that telescope companetized and get as quick a lap time as possible, because there is no hanging back, especially if the rain is forecast within the race. It's going to be very interesting. Rusty is the first man out on track for the NRX team. NRX, of course, getting both their drivers through. Levi qualified in second as a result of Q1, behind Nick. Rusty there in 9th. Has to try and live up to something. He has been very quick in console tier 1 when I've certainly commentated on him. What does he have to do? And in fact, what does the NRX team have to do to try and get back into contention? Because this will be a very close qualifying regardless.
They have to get both cars into Q3. That's the start, and then they have to go from there, because NRX 7th in the championship with 27 points. They did get a good result in Azerbaijan, finishing in 5th position with Sindri, but slightly disappointing maybe this season. Very slightly disappointing, because NRX is a team you kind of expect to be up there, isn't it really? Especially in what is a predominantly Xbox Championship. Of course, it is certainly crossplay, but World Online Racing famous for its classic Xbox battles, and you kind of expect NRX to be up there. But certainly the goal for now, very, very short run goal. Let's get both cars into quali 3. Here comes Rusty on his lap.
Yeah, definitely. So, apologies, by the way, if I've just scared everyone in terms of their ears. I think I didn't turn down the volume on the advert, which is not that great whatsoever at all. So people now are going to be going to the doctors and blaming me as a result. Rusty coming through the first sector, 15.9. Had a bit of a snap, actually, coming midway through the corner at turn number 3. And an even bigger snap coming out of turn number 3 at Remus. On the run down towards Schlossgold at turn number 4. He has backed off on this lap, but it will still be a valid run as long as he keeps it in the white line. Coming through the right-hander of turn number 4. I think Jensen was the next one on the lap behind him. I think he might be on a lap as well for the Shazoo team, but Rusty now coming through this middle sector. It's going to be nowhere near what these guys were setting in the first part of qualifying, certainly with this lap. At least 45.1 cost him at least 3/4 tenths per second from Rusty's perspective. Coming now through the right-hander of turn number 8, then through the right-hander of turn number 9. Now Rusty on a lap. He is improving actually in this final sector. He's really trying to get a real grasp of the yellow flag, and I think that's the AlphaTauri of, just trying to look through, Asacom potentially, who has just invalidated his run. Rusty though, 1 of 4.955, quicker than Jensen by a tenth. Bit of a shock, but Levi goes quickest by 3 tenths per second.
Yeah, I think it could be old tyres on some of the cars. I definitely think they could be running a scrub set of tyres, but Smokey goes to the top, so PSR continue their good qualifying form, and that might be enough to get them through. Maybe enough to get them through. I can't really see anyone going too far up above PSR, but they might just run anyways because they'll have the tyres to do so. M-Racer invalidating his first run, just like Quali 1. That put him on the back foot in Quali 1, so we're going to hope that he doesn't go on the back foot here from a VSR perspective. Jensen then going to 6th position, Ogween going to 50th from Ogween there to go, going best of the rest apart from PSR and NRX. Still, big runs coming in from the TF guys. Rudy invalidating on his first lap. Another man who invalidated his first lap in Quali 1. But here comes a Legend across the line. Is this going to go to the top? It'll be good enough for 3rd. 2 tenths off Smokey. Smokey showing some really good pace.
Yeah, Smokey definitely showing some really good pace. He's out on top early on. Levi in 2nd, Legend there in 3rd. 4 minutes of this qualifying session gone. Both VSR boys, by the way, have also invalidated their 2nd run. So M-Racer and Lucas not getting a 2nd run in. They did invalidate their 1st run. Aurelian, however, 16-2 in the first sector, looking to try and grasp this opportunity. The Frenchman for the Shazoo team, 45.2 in the middle sector is average. It's not bang thereabouts, to be honest, in terms of that middle sector. I would not be surprised, actually, if he does decide to come there in the pit lane. But now Aurelian coming to the right-hander of turn number 9, and then to the right-hander of turn number 10. Smokey, Levi, Legend, top 3. Aurelian should go, I think, Asacom sort of area. And he does. He goes ahead of him, in fact, and behind his teammate of Jensen. 300ths of a second of Jensen, 200ths quicker than Asacom. He goes into 8th, of course. The PSGL F2 contender from last season, of course, making a real good name for himself, I've got to say, in F1. Hasn't been as consistent as what people might have thought, but Smokey out on top, Levi in 2nd, Legend there in 3rd, and Legend, famously, won a race in America by 20 seconds in the full wet conditions. So, that might suit him for good start a little bit later on.
Might be a good little omen, as Aurelian, Jensen, Ogween, Rusty, all probably going to have to go again. I imagine all 15 will come out at the end of the session, because you're never really safe in Q2. It's, in my eyes, the most interesting part of qualifying. I think it's when things start to get really good, because you have a solid 15 drivers here, all at a very similar pace, and some maybe coasted through Q1. We start to see the real pace here in Q2 around what used to be called the A1 ring, of course. Hosted 7 races from 1997 to 2003, and dare I say it returned in 2014.
Yeah, definitely. So, interesting comments, by the way, coming to Russ Greenhorn in the chat, who I think is part of the WOR team. Did you know Will Still has led Reims for 18 game unbeaten run in all competitions? Reims paid £22,000 fine each time. Still manages because he doesn't have his UEFA Pro licence. Could get it on Football Manager, can't get it, of course, in real life because of Brexit, but that's all I'm going to say. Ray, however, on the first lap on his run, 16 flat through the first lap, not looking too bad at all. The cascades his way in towards turn number 3 there at Remus on the run down in towards turn number 4. Of course, Ray was a PSF2 contender in season 31, where me and Evan, of course, famously commentated on him. got promoted to F1 just because he was too dominant, and shown really, really good pace, I've got to say, from his transition from F2 to F1 in PSGL. Now in WOR, of course, in Legacy Division, he's doing a good lap at this stage through the middle sector. 44.9 there or thereabouts, I think, in terms of his lap. Should go around Nick Rusty or Green, that sort of area, I would think, in terms of lap. The Italian now coming to the right-hander of turn number 9 at Verth Curve, and then towards turn number 10 at the Red Bull Mobile Curve. It's Smokey, Levi, Legend out on top. We have pretty much 6 minutes gone as Ray slides his way through the final corner on the run to the line, and he goes ahead of Rusty, pretty much in the area where I expect them to. Ahead of Rusty, goes into 5th. Not a bad lap at all from him. Interesting comment as well coming through from Reese Basma. In F120, I was on the same party with Axie, and he was not much faster than me. Now he is a beast. It just comes to show how Reese Basma, unfortunately, I think, has fell by the wayside in terms of his pace.
It's not what I was expecting to say. I thought there was going to be a little bit of an Asacone compliment coming, but poor Reese Basma. I can only apologise for the actions of my horrendous co-commentator.
Wow.
There goes Rusty. That's a beauty of a lap to the top. 104.1. He's certainly safely through. Smokey as well looking good as Levy invalidates, heading through the right-hander. He's going to have to go again, but NRX looking very fast here. We said they were going to have to try and get into Q3. As of now, coasting into it.
And Archie second as well. Watch this lap, really consistent lap there from the FRA man. He goes second, 104.288. Now bettered by Nick, who goes second. Very good lap time from his perspective. Smokey 5,000s down in the first second. We'll see what his middle sector is. Apologies, Reese Basma. I know who you are, I think. 0.2 of a second up, though, from Smokey in this middle sector. A 104.483. He looks to try and go ahead of Rusty. I know for fine fact he's probably not going to tune into the comment section anymore as a result of my burn. But Smokey now coming through. He's burning up this lap time out on track and comes through the final corner on the run to the line. Goes third behind his teammate. Only 0.13 of a second covering them. Rusty out on top, Nick in second, Smokey there in third. Very good lap time from their perspective. Rudy Lucas on a run as well. Rudy 45.1 in the middle sector. He's going to go around Legend sort of area, I think. In fact, actually, 104.9. I think he was just preparing up for his run. Lucas invalidating. M races through the first sector of 16 flat as well. Risky there in 12. And I knew who Reese Basma was. It's Basmati, who I know from FRO with him.
Really just had a 3:34, James, so I'm not too sure what you think Legend's lap is like.
Just to back that up, on my screen he was showing like a 104 coming across the line. I thought he was on a lap.
Alright.
Well,
Aurelian is on a run. Aurelian's going to improve here, the Frenchman, heading across the line. Here comes the Alpine. That's going to go to 5th position ahead of teammate Jensen. The two VSR boys are on a run. Lucas isn't actually, apologies, it's only M-Racer. M-Racer heading down towards the Red Bull Mobile curve now and plans to throttle out of a decent extra map from M-Racer. This should be a good run across the line. He goes to 5th position. The times are certainly toppling, and a lot of guys are getting a good run in. Here comes arguably one of the biggest names in this championship, Rudy, heading around the final corner.
It does indeed. Rudy through the final corner. Then he squirms his way outside of the curb to the line. And he goes 6th, 104.4. Little bit disappointing, I'm going to say, from his perspective. 7th there, 104.4. Not a bad lap there at all. Apologies, by the way, if I'm lagging there slightly. I think I'm back now. Rusty out on top, Nick there in second. Smokey there in third, Arch there in fourth. 5 minutes ago, a crucial 5 minutes in terms of Q2. Currently, as it stands, Ray, Ogween, Asacombe, Risks and Lucas would be the 5 actually dropping out in qualifying. I believe Lucas actually is on a lap at this stage of the BSR man as he now comes in towards the right-hander of turn number 1 through the louder curve and then up the hill in towards turn number 2 and 3. Famously, of course, did you know around this track, and did you go around Austria, in fact, 73% of Austria is actually made up of mountains?
Yes. And the elevation change, actually, from turn 1 to turn 3 is the second largest in Formula 1, 63.5 metres. It's second to Spa.
It is. See, Evan's done more homework than me. That actually fed in quite nicely. Lucas coming to the right-hander of turn number 4 at Slosh Goal. Did hear it from David Croft once in commentary, so that's where I was filming it from. Rusty out on top, Nick in second, Smokey there in third. Lucas though coming through the middle sector split. Not looking too bad. 44.8 in the middle sector is there or thereabouts with his teammate, Legend, Rudy, that sort of area I would imagine. With this lap, the VSR man coming up the hill into the right-hander of turn number 9 and then into the right-hander of Red Bull Mobile curve at turn number 10. Looking like very consistent. Coming out of turn number 9, not consistent. Coming out of turn number 10, absolutely butchers turn number 10. On the run to the line, Lucas in the end, 104.7, puts him in the drop zone, 104.7. It would have been, I think, a little bit quicker. Maybe ahead of Levi, give a push, but Lucas on his third run He is running out of time potentially to get another lap in. Jensen is breaking the mold. He is coming out the pit lane, as well as I think an AlphaTauri. I think that is Asacom coming out the pit lane. Jensen, though, out on his first run, or out on his final run potentially. He has got potentially 2 cracks of the cherry here with less than 3 minutes to go, or just over 3 minutes to go in the session. Rusty out on top, Nick in second, Smokey there in third. Looking there in the chat as well, Joseph, maybe a new hashtag we can get trending tonight. Request a fact. There you go.
Did you know that the Austrian Grand Prix is the quickest lap time in Formula 1? However, the 4th shortest circuit behind Monaco, Mexico, and Brazil. Hashtag WOR, request a fact. I'm a little bit disappointed with Lucas there, James. I thought Lucas would have been up there, but VSR and TF, I'm just going to say, not running like their usual selves this evening in qualifying. Potentially a shock here in this session. It's going to be a very good...
It is going to be a very good ending indeed. Jensen, by the way, decided to come in the pit lane, which was a little bit strange, and I think Lucas is going to do the same thing coming through. In fact, actually, he's just backed off his run, hasn't he? He's coming in the pit lane, he's low on fuel. Rusty thinks he's done enough. I certainly think he's done enough. 104.1 is comfortably miles ahead of the rest of the field. Lucas wants to try and get out of the pit lane. It's about a minute turnaround around here, so he should be okay. Asacom, however, has just started up on his run. 16.1 in the first sector, and actually, I think he's just completed the lap, hasn't he? 105.116 in terms of that. I'm really not with it tonight, as you can tell. Rusty out on top, Nick there in second, Smokey there in third. Levi, however, on the run to the line, goes into 6th, and I think that was just preparing up for another run. The NRX run now comes through the right-hand of turn number 1. Rusty, Nick, Smokey top 3, 2 minutes to go in Q2, and this is where the real big guns have to try and come out to play.
Yeah, this is where no more sandbags. You got to go flat out. This is where the big push laps start to come in, because if you set a bad lap in Q3, it's not the end of the world. Where if you set a bad lap here in Q2, it quite literally is. And speaking of world, if you're enjoying the action here, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. As Levy, that's a big wobble from Levy. This could put him under real pressure. He's actually backed off. He's going to have another go. But that puts Levy under some pressure now. He was looking comfortable. A lot of pressure on a lot of shoulders here, as there is only about a minute to go, I believe.
Yeah, he caused my CPU to nearly crash on the right-hand side of me there, which was, I think, just the clarification of the moment, coming out of turn number 4, nearly crashed my laptop, which, if he did, then, well, God works in very miracle ways, and 2, Levi is probably God right now. But Rusty out on top, Nick in second, Smokey there in third, Archer just ran up for a lap, Legends finishing, I think, a lap at this stage. Goodness me, where's my voice going? M-Racer as well has just finished up on a run. Rudy is up on the lap, 7 thousandths up through the first sector, 16 flat, a 16.089 to be exact. From Rudy as now comes in toward the left-hander of turn number 6 up the rally curve. We should see how it overtakes around the outside through there. 44.7 in the middle sector is not too bad at all, but Rudy needs to get this lap time on the floor. Yeah, much quicker. Then Racer that goes second, as you mentioned, 104.1. Rudy, though, coming in towards the final couple of corners on the run towards the line. This should be enough to see him in towards Q3. There should also be enough, I think, for Legend to go into Q3. He's just started up on the run as well. Rudy to the line, goes fit. That should get him into Q3. Archer's backed off. Asacom is backed off as well, I think. Legend up in the first sector, 15.9 in the first sector. The first 15.9 I've seen through the first sector.
Yeah, that's definitely a really good first sector from Legend, and he is under pressure, so this needs to be a nailed final sector. 44.5 in the middle. Legend is on rails here.
He is. He's on absolute fire, coming out of turn number 8, and then through the right-hander of turn number 9 as a black screen just appears up above the camera angle there, coming through turn number 9, then through the right-hander of turn number 10, and Legend on a very good lap here, very consistent, coming out of turn number 10, on the run to the line, goes third in the end, but it's enough to get him in towards Q3. Rudy is done, Archer's done, Asacom is done, Aurelian has just started up on the run as well.
Elite risks and valid for the final corner. He's out of qualifying. That's really disappointing from a man who was running very, very well.
Jensen's going to be added at this stage as well. 104.5. I think he's nearly run out of fuel through the final couple of corners on the run to the line. He's not improving.
Lucas
so Jensen has done. Yeah, Lucas has done as well. So unfortunately, that I think is the end of qualifying. I don't think anybody else is on a lap. So Rusty out on top. M-Racer second. Legend there currently in third. But the 5 out of the session in Q2 are Levi, Ray, Jensen, Lucas, interestingly for the VSR team, and Elite Risks there down in 15. Couldn't get a valid lap time there on the board. A bit of a shock as well, considering Levi was actually second in Q1, he's out in Q2 by 0.02 of a second.
That was disappointing because he was near the top heading into the final few runs, wasn't he? And we said NRX's goal was to get both cars into Q3. They haven't did that. Chizu have a car out in Q2. VSR have a car out in Q2. Have to say, really good job from Arch, who manages to get into Q3 as well. But we're in for a very interesting end to qualify, and big shout out to Ogween as well. He has put Team Valor into Q3. Team Valor currently bottom in the championship with 11 points, and they have had a good showing here in qualifying. That's actually both Valor cars, apologies, in. Arch gets in as well, so Team Valor may be the team on the up.
Nick saying in the chat as well, Lucas forgot to change his tyres. Yeah, he was on 3-lap old set of softs, basically, including an in-lap and an out-lap, 5 laps worth of soft compounded tyres, and that's why he didn't get through into Q3 in the end. It's Rusty though out on top, from M Racer there in second, Legend there in third, with Nick in fourth, Smokey there in fifth. Good to see the PSL boys up there as well, and Rudy there in sixth, Archer in seventh, Asa coming eighth, Rally in ninth, and Ogwin, as you mentioned, getting into the top 10. Team Valor, I think, a very good session there. FRA, Arch there as well, and the other Red Bull in seventh. Levi, Ray, Jensen, Lucas, and Elite Risks all out of Q number 2. Q3 is going to bear down on us very soon indeed. Rusty though out on top, M Racer second, Legend there in third. But Rusty, 0.04 of a second, 2.5 of a second, covering the top 10 in that qualifying session, Evan. This is where now, literally, everything counts. This is where you've got to be on your A game.
Yep, you have to be absolutely flying. You got to be pushing. And your best lap of the weekend has to come at the end of this session. And if it doesn't, well, that's probably slightly disappointing, because if you go quicker in the race, that is definitely disappointing. But Q3 starts now, 12 minutes on the clock. Let us know in the stream chat who you're predicting for pole position. It's going to be a good one.
It is going to be a good one, and I'm literally just going to throw a very wild prediction. You know how I'm like with the wild predictions. I think Rusty potentially is going to be pole position. He was top in Q2. He was nowhere really near in Q1. Certainly, I think he qualified in the top 10 at least. But Rusty, for me, for pole, I'm going to go Legend for second for Talent Factory, and in third, I am going to go for Smokey, who hopefully has been smoking the right amount of chemicals to try and get his car into P3.
What are you on about?
I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, I think we swiftly move on. First 3 cars out on track now. It is Smokey, Rusty, and Arch. 3 of the, I suppose you could say, good running drivers. I know they're all technically running well, but they're 3 of the impressive performances so far in the session. As Ben Hill is going to confirm what I was thinking, Rusty on pole isn't a surprise prediction. He topped Q2. He's the quickest man coming into this session. And I think anything less than the front row for Rusty would be slightly disappointing, because his pace in Q2 was ultra impressive.
It was ultra impressive. It's a surprise to me, because this is my first time actually commentating on Legacy Division. That's why I'm actually saying he's going to be on pole position. And that's definitely not a surprise to me, considering I've only been doing this, about an hour now, in terms of this stream. Arch, though, and Smokey now just start up on their laps. Right on board with Smokey, coming out of turn number 1 there at Louder Curve, in toward the right-hander of turn number 2. I think it's going to be around a 103.9. 103.921 is what I'm going to fix on. 16 flat in the first second from Smokey, not looking too bad at all. Bit of a snap there coming out of turn number 3, just a bit of an over-rotation. Gets the car quickly corrected, and now on the run down in towards turn number 4, my favourite corner. Schlossdal down in towards turn number 4, breaks just after the 100-metre call, gets the car rotated in very nicely indeed through turn 4. Out of 4th gear, coming out now through turn 5, then in towards Pirelli curve at turn number 6, where I said a little bit early on we should see moves around the outside here, certainly in the race. Smokey in the middle sector, 44.7, already quicker than what we've been seeing in the first 2 parts of qualifying at this early stage, of course. Arch also on a lap, Aurelian just coming out the pit lane, I think, as well. Nick on an out lap, and Racer on an out lap with Smokey. The McLaren coming through the final couple of corners, on the run now towards the line, out of turn number 10. On the run to the line, 104.1, I think. 104.4 in the end. Smokey a little bit off what I was predicting there, but Smokey out on top. Arch there just coming to the line and back invalidated. Rusty is on a lap as well. He is now coming through the middle sector. 44.5 already, 2 tenths up, coming through the final corner. The Aston Martin now on the run toward the line. Is he going to go quicker? You bet he will. 104.111. It's all the ones for Rusty.
Yeah, good lap from Rusty. I think this is not going to be the time we see in this session. We're certainly going to see much quicker times towards the end. All you guys in the stream chat getting your predictions in. Lots of 103.8, so we do see a lot of 103.8 predictions. As I did a 102.9 on F1 2020. I'm absolutely clear of these drivers, James.
That's why you're in the comment box, unfortunately. Nick out on top, though, and Nick on a lap, I should say, coming out in turn number 4. Rusty leading the way from Smokey in second, Arch there in third, and Racer just starting up on the run as well. But Nick through the middle sector, 44.5 is the quickest middle sector so far, matched in the middle sector by Nick, 44.549 in that middle sector. And that comes through the right hand of turn number 8 into the right hand of turn number 9. 8 minutes to go in Q3. Rusty, Smokey, Arch top 3 at the minute, but Nick is going to put himself certainly up there with a 104.1. Not like that though, coming out of turn number 10. Big snap of oversteer on the run to line, and if you can get away with that and only go a tenth behind Rusty, God knows what that lap time would have been. Rusty out on top, Nick there in second, but Nick a huge counter steer coming through the final corner. I think that cost him at least a tenth of a second.
Yeah, I think so. M-Racer goes with a 44.9 in the middle sector, so VSR still not running well. If we get to see that first sector from Legend with the rest of the lap hooked up, he will be heading very close to the top. Let's see what M-Racer's final sector is like. Oh, huge wobble heading through the Red Bull Mobile curve. It's going to be nowhere. This will be fourth, and he is almost a second off pole position. Not a good start to the session for M-Racer. May potentially be on an older set of tyres because he's had to do 2 runs in every session so far. Asacombe, 15.9 in Sector 1. The AlphaTauri's on for a good one.
He is on for a good one indeed. Purple in that first sector, coming down the hill and towards turn number 4. Schlossgold out of turn number 4, famously by Albon and Hamilton. Famously hit each other in 2020. As now Asacombe comes to the left-hander of turn number 6. The AlphaTauri man for the OP team, the sole OP driver in this middle sector, and he's quicker actually than Rusty and in Nick in the middle sector. So Asacombe looking very good on this lap. Could we potentially see a PS guy on top in terms of this session? We've got 4 currently with Rudy Legend and Rallying just gone up on runs as well, along with Asacombe. And then the 6, of course, are the others on Xbox as Asacombe comes towards the line and goes quickest. 104 flat 104.077, 400 quicker, I should say, than Rusty. I'm all over the place, you can tell. But Asacombe out of top, Rusty in second. What are the first sectors looking like? Ogween 16 flat in the first sector. Legends backed off. Rudy, I think, was quickest in the first sector as well.
Yeah, let's see what Rudy's middle sector is. Ferraris have not had the best of times in qualifying so far, but if anyone can hook it up, it will be Rudy and Legend heading in towards the Worth curve. 44.7 in the middle sector, so it's not the most impressive times from TF. That lap is really good from Asacombe if it is just his banker and he can't improve. Legend gets a time on the board, it's 1 minute and 12, so it's not really representative. Ogween goes to 5th position. That would be an excellent qualifying result for Ogween if he was to stay there. Here comes Rudy then rounding the final corner. It's going to be a Ferrari across the line, does go to the 4th position, but he is 3/10 off pole position, which makes that a lap from Asacombe look even better. Maybe it's the Italians' turn for a pole position here in the Legacy Division.
Yeah, potentially so. Archer's just done up on a lap as well. Archer was really impressed actually with this final run in Q2. And if you can match that and actually go quicker through this first sector, 15.9 in the first sector is really adequate indeed through the first sector. So if he can now improve on that Q2 run, I think he might be alive the outside shot potentially for pole position here. The Red Bull on the run down and towards turn number 4, Schlossgold. Already reaching in excess of 200 miles an hour down into the braking zone at turn number 4. Asacombe, Rusty, Nick currently in the top 3. Arch there in 10th position now, coming to the right-hander of turn number 5, then to the left-hander of turn number 6. Crispy saying as well in the chat, Rudy was on old compounder tyres, which I think might have been the case. Arch in the middle sector, 44.7. That Red Bull not really arching its back at this stage, but now coming to the right-hander of turn number 8, then into the right-hander of turn number 9. It was a pun and it's just gone the wrong way. So now Arch comes through the right-hander of turn number 10 on the run towards the line. He should go, I think, around Ogween sort of area. Yeah, he goes quicker than him, a 104.4, but in the end, 1,000 off Smokey wouldn't suit him too bad. Smokey is 2/10 down in that first sector as well. That all the first run's pretty much done. Asacombe, Rusty, Nick top 3. You spotted something?
Rusty, he's gone for another push lap. He invalidated it, but it was a 103.9. So, there is definitely pace there for the man in second position, the man you predicted for pole, and he might be good for it for now. We haven't seen a lap of the 103s yet. We have to get there, surely. There's got to be some big improvements from those on older tyres. And Nick in the chat saying these puns are crazy. Yeah, I'm seeing a different side to James this evening, that's all I shall say.
Yeah, well, pre-watershed as well at this stage. So I don't think Luke is going to be inviting me back for commentary anytime soon. That's a come out on top. Rusty in
Available
second.
on
Nick
Tuesdays,
there in
Luke.
third. Yeah, Evan is available on Tuesdays, definitely. Stretch saying not arching his back. What I was trying to say with that is the oversteer on the car, the counter steer, basically the oversteer coming out of turn number 4. That's what I was trying to say.
I said in commentary today, James, that has the aerodynamics of a fridge freezer, and even that sounds better than what you just said. So, 3 minutes and 24 to go in qualifying. We're all having a good time here, aren't we, in the Legacy division? Thank you to all over 110 of you who are watching now. We do appreciate your support. Let us know once again down below who you think is on for pole position. As of right now, it is Asicom who is on top. But will he be beaten? I think he might, because I definitely think there's a lot of pace from especially the Talent Factory and the Paradox Sim Racing boys.
Yeah, definitely so. The VSL man of M Racer, who I believe was formerly PlayStation back in the day. I certainly remember him from a league that I used to run, and there was a guy called M Racer in there. M Racer, though, in 10th position, 105 flat.
I think he used to be in PSGL F3, if I stand correct. I definitely remember M Racer from the PlayStation platform. Of course, me and James are PlayStation commentators. This game, and in the last few weeks, is our first experience with Xbox League Racing. But yeah, I certainly remember M Racer. I think he was on PlayStation once upon a time, but for now, he doesn't want to be where he is, and that is at the foot of the Q3 field.
Yeah, I remember actually going through the archives for the PSGL F1, I think, and I certainly saw him there in PSGL F1 before PSGL became the big thing as it is now. WOR is clearly better, I've got to say, than PSGL, even though I commentate on both now. Have to try and draw a little bit of unbias somewhere, but M Racer is a better setup on a lap.
You just said WOR is clear, and I have to be unbiased in the same sentence.
And the
the
121 of you are probably now going to tune out as a result of that. M Racer now coming to the right-hander of turn number 9, into the right-hander of turn number 10. And this, Evan, this is a big lap now for M Racer. He's on that set of soft compound tyres. You can only assume he's on a fresh set of softs as well. On the road towards turn number 1, this needs to be a big lap from the VSR man, and everyone is going to be watching on tenderhooks.
This needs to be perfect. Heading up the hill, he has about 32 gear changes to make on this lap. Every single one of them has to be perfect. He is improving. It's a 15.9, which is about where we're seeing the top guy set in Sector 1. Rotates the car nicely, heading through turn number 3. This is not the worst lap in the world from M Racer. His best effort so far. Short shifting up to 8th gear, braking just after the 100-meter board. Rotate the car in, take a little bit of curb, but not too much, and the exact same on the exit. In towards turn number 6 of Orange. Now, you gotta just rotate the car using 5th gear. Used to be down to 3rd gear on older cars, but now we are all about higher gears on F1 2022. 6th gear then, heading through the Worth curve in turn number 8. Next is Rinth. This has to be absolutely on the limit stuff through here, running right to the white line, doesn't quite push it close, aim for that little bit of curve on the right hand side, bolted, almost kicking up some grass. M Racer across the line, that's going for the second row.
Big lap that from M Racer. Fantastic improvement. Nick Brown up for a run. Rusty, though, purple in the middle sector. 44.5 in the middle sector. The Aston Martin is going to be one of the first to come across the line. I think Asicom is ahead of him on a lap, and he goes quicker. 103.982. I think somebody got that right in the comment section. Rusty, though, now has some new targets to beat, and he's really scrappy coming out through the final corner on the run to the line. Does improve, but doesn't improve his position. A 104 flat, not bad at all. M Racer there in third still. Nick through the first sector, 900s up, 59 in the first sector. Watch out for him. Legend on lap. Rudy, a 10th and a half up in the middle sector. Now on the run towards the line out of turn number 10 at Red Bull Mobile Curve on the run. 104 flat goes fourth. Legend through the middle sector. Nick through the middle sector as well. Arch now goes fifth. M Racer's done. Legend, a 10th and a half up, 44.5. So he is putting it up there as Legend. Currently Ossico Mad on top. Smokey in second. Rusty there in third. Rusty not good enough to go on pole position. So my predictions out the window as Legend now comes to the final quarter on the run to the line, and he goes fourth ahead of his teammate and just behind Rusty by 11 hundredths of a second. Nick is back into the pit lane. Sorry, that's M Racer, sorry, I should say, back into the pit lane. Nick now coming to the final couple of corners, through turn number 9, through the right hand of turn number 10. Huge lap now incoming for the PSR man on the run to the line. Oh, and he goes third in the end, so close to getting pole, but in the end, it's Asicum out on top. It's Smokey there in second, Nick there in third. Fantastic ends that qualifying session, and Asicum might be the first time I've certainly done cosplay commentary in WOR. Might be the first time I think I've ever seen a PS guy top the session. Asicum out on top, Smokey in second, Nick there in third. Great result from the PSR boys, but Asicum OP will be absolutely humdinger delighted with that.
That is a brilliant, brilliant session from Asicom. He has really, really pulled that out of nowhere, hasn't he? Wasn't really near the top in Q1 or 2, but he's the only man to adventure into the 103.9s, and I definitely saw a comment with that pole prediction nailed. Whoever that was in the chat, make sure to let us know. We'll give you some well-earned credit. But Asicom on pole for Airplane Racing.
If it was Charlie, then unfortunately it's wrong, because it's a 103.881, not a 103.891, as it was a 981, I should say. He was only a 10th off. But Asicum out on top, Smokey there in second, Nick in third. A fantastic end to a very, very close qualifying session. Rusty in the end in fourth. Didn't really improve on that lap time. He did improve his position, but he certainly improved in terms of his lap time. Legend there in fifth, 600ths of a second, covering the top five, with Rudy in sixth, Arch there in seventh, and Racer in eighth. Ruddy in there in ninth did well. The sole Shazoo driver there in that session, and Ogween there in 10th. They are the top 10, of course, along with the rest of the field that we've already had in Q2, and in fact knocked out in Q1 as well. But Asicum out on top, Smokey in second, Nick there in third. Fantastic ends to that qualifying session. Merkel saying in the chat, where was the other AlphaTauri? Knocked out in Q2. Ray, I think, qualified indeed in 12th position, if I'm not mistaken. But we are now going to transition, of course, into the race. We'll run you through the full grid when it comes up. I believe there's no formation lap either, so we're going to literally be straight into the action here in WR Legacy Division. But Evan, fantastic end to that qualifying session. Are we going to get a bit of a shock in terms of the weather conditions now, however? No. Beautiful blue skies and sunshine, just exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, just exactly what we had in the race as well. But this is going to be really interesting because there is rain reports. There is reports of a wet patch in this race, and that's going to be crucial for the tyre choice because, of course, the hard tyres can do up to 31 laps if possible. Now, if you're wondering where is this Irishman waffling for, it did happen in PSGL PCF1. Lewis Welch did 31 laps, but the usual strategy for the hard tyres is about lap 18 or 19 you look into pit, and the mediums can usually do about 17 laps as well. It's kind of a split strategy because there's 36 laps. It's usually 18 on one, 18 on the other. The rain is at the end, big thanks to the other Evan, the Evan in the stream chat. I believe he is a Juventus racing engineer, I'd like to say. A couple of beautiful strategy calls in Azerbaijan, but it didn't work out oh so well for Juventus, who didn't actually have a draw. Oh, they did have a driver finish in the top 10. They had a driver finish in the top 5. They had Baki finish in 4th. But this is going to be an interesting one. The sun is splitting the stones. There's rain on the way. It is exactly what we all want to see.
It is exactly what we all want to see. I think more some than others, potentially, if there is going to be a wet patch towards the end of the race. Normally, when I commentate and see a wet patch towards the end, I think of it as being the final third of the race. So, literally the final 10 laps, I think, we could have the rain come. I've seen it where rain has started on the final 2 laps of the race. It hasn't affected the track whatsoever. It really is going to change from lobby to lobby, from literally commentary to game, as well in terms of the rain. But what we can say is that there is rain, of course, going to be coming at the end of the session, and that means the drivers have got to be prepared, and that will be in the back of their minds somewhere. Of course, the first focus is to get through turn 1 safely, and then through to get lap 1 safely. However, this is going to be big time now in terms of this. We haven't got a lobby glitch. I think drivers are just pairing up their setups, if I'm not mistaken.
No, there's always a little bit of a delay. WOR give the drivers a few minutes. I imagine we'll be readying up at 5 past. They usually wait for then. Yeah, ready up at 5 past, says the admin, I suppose you could say, for this evening, Harvey. So big thanks to Harvey for making sure everything is running smooth here for this evening's Legacy Division.
Yeah,
and I think Harvey's just appeared in the stream comments just as I've said that. But if the garages are anything to go by, Mosey's starting on the mediums. because you can just see, I'm not sure if you can see it on your perspective, James, but you can just have a sneaky little peek into the Haas Formula 1 garage, and those are medium tyres ready for the Juventus racing driver of Mosi. But we're going to have some gamblers, I'd imagine. There's certainly going to be someone who starts on the medium compound of tyres because, as James, you rightfully said, the rain, it's a little bit RNG on when it's going to come. There's no predetermined times. It will just be, oh, well, there'll be a rain cloud here or there.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's the final third, if I was out on track at the stages, now we get ready, up 30 seconds left to go in terms of the session. If I was out on track, I'd certainly think about going to a set of hard compound of tyres and then deciding if the rain is going to come, when the rain is going to come, when the engineer tells me. I will have to prepare mentally for that, and that's what the drivers are going to have to be thinking. They're going to have to be thinking mentally in terms of the rain, of course, coming out on track. Harvey Cowan there in the chat saying he's a different Harvey. Don't worry, I'm the second best Harvey. He says no, he's the first best Harvey. He is the first best Harvey. Might not be to Harvey's liking whatsoever, but the five lights are now coming out here in Legacy Division for round number 6 of the championship in Austria, and it's lights down away we go already. Nasacom gets a brilliant start off the line, and Smokey now is going to try and run alongside, but he's nowhere near in towards turn 1. Nasacom will lead in towards turn 1. Rusty to the inside line there of Nick. Tries to get the job done. I think everyone is through turn 1 very safely indeed. Haas there in the background getting caught up with Carl Person slightly. That was Mosi, I think. But Asacom leads the way up the hill and towards turn number 3 as Legend dives toward the inside line there, and Rusty tries to go all the way around the outside now. Bit of a pinch forward in towards turn number 3. M Racer and Levi having a good fight. A bit of contact there, I think, actually from Levi on the back of a rally and on the side of his car. Ogween now running side by side with Rain. It's going to be 2 by 2. Noah's Ark as we run down in towards turn number 4 in the mid pack. Everyone running line astern from first down to 9. Levi and Ray are still side by side. Ray and Ogween now are side by side. In fact, as the Red Bull now comes on the sister car to the inside line of Pirelli curve at turn number 6 through the middle sector, and Ogween is still there with Ray out battling the OP man, the Team Valor man trying to outdo him, but in the end it's still Ray in 11th, Ogween there in 12th. Everyone through lap 1 safely pretty much, though Asacom leads the way, Smokey in second, Nick in third. Asacom just got a brilliant start off the line, and everyone, Evan, is on the set of hard compound tyres.
Yeah, and not much positional change as well. The biggest gainer in the opening lap was the man who actually got 0 running in qualifying due to a qualifying suspension. Simbarox, he's up 3 spots. And there was no real big losers as well. There was almost a bit of contact between M Racer and one of the Talent Factory boys.
No.
It seems like the cars have tripped up each other, as well as Arch and Aurelian now battling. Arch looking for the outside of the Alpine.
He is indeed, and that's what I've got all out there in towards turn number 3, and he's still on the outside line of a rally, and the Frenchman's going to have to try and defend, but I think they're going to run line astern in towards turn number 4, and the rally will hold on into 8, but not for long, because Arch absolutely sends it to the inside line, trying to make up that position. Those 2 positions lost off the race start of rally, and trying to get the elbows out to the inside line. Now the Shazoo man of turn number 6 through Pirelli curve, trying to get the job done. The Red Bull still trying to hang it around the outside, nearly but a contact, and the rally and just about comes out on top as a result. Off camber coming through there. Aurelian got caught basically on that curve, off camber on the corner, and Arch nearly went in the gravel there all of a sudden, but Arch there in 9th, Aurelian in 8th. Great battle between them both. That's what we like to see. Tyne and Mosi, as you mentioned. I think Tyne actually lunged it to the inside on Mosi down in towards turn number 1. Unfortunately for them, both got put up in an instant, and Tyne there in 18th, Mosi there in 19th. Not the great start that Juventus would have been wanting for sure, but Asacom leads Smokey in 2nd, Nick there in 3rd. Very good start out on track. Levi's now getting close to the back of Arch, and Elite Risk is round.
Yeah, he's round and he's broken his front wing. He's hit the wall, and Car Person is running very, very slowly. Not too sure what's wrong there for him, as there was another bit of an ooh and an ah. James, has something happened in front?
There was. Levi was trying to dive it to the inside on an Arch. Arch then trying to force the move in a rally, and in the end, no positions changes there. But very aggressive racing early on, but it's the sort of aggressive racing that I like to see. Putting the drivers under pressure, making them crack under that pressure. Mosi is into the pit lane for a set of medium compound tyres. And as you mentioned, I think Carl Person and indeed, of course, Elite Risks did get caught up in that instant. They are down in 17th and 18th position. But Ascom leads, Smokey in 2nd, Nick there in 3rd. All very calm and quiet up in front, and it's also quiet. Shh. Don't know where I was going with that, but still. Nick on the back of Smokey.
Very odd. That felt so creepy in the commentary box, but it is quiet up the front. You are right. It's perfect sleeping conditions, maybe. So hopefully the people watching at home are not falling asleep, as we need these guys to start scrapping each other. We need a big mass battle. But Asacom leads pretty comfortably at the front here. He's 6/10 of a second away from Smokey, but not making any mistakes, not looking out of... A good job, I have to say.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job out on track as well. That was in reference to a song, by the way, I think from the 1980s, so nobody probably would have got that. I've just taken everyone back in time. Has to come out on top, Smokey in second, Nick there in third. The PSR boys are trying to provide a bit of cover, I think, for Rusty in behind. Fourth position for Rusty at this stage. Of course, he could have qualified a lot higher than that. He should have been on P1, I think, in terms of my own opinion, because I've predicted him, to be honest, in P1. But Rusty in fourth, doing a good job, trying to apply over the pressure to Nick and Smokey. Nick, though, is going to almost counteract, I think, the balance between the PSR boys, because Smokey going to try and provide that fight with Asacom. He can then, Nick in third, can then obviously back up Rusty and then create a gap to the front two to get away. And then, potentially, when the rain comes, Nick can come back into that in terms of DRS and ERS as legends on the back of Rusty coming up the hill in towards turn number 3 at Remus. He's not going to get the job done. Carl Person dives it to the outside line of turn number 1, gets the job done on the mini-map. I can see that. Carl Person 3 is into 17. Elite Risk still continuing on. I think with that damage, I think he got away with it potentially though. He's down there in 18, mostly there in 19, still at the back of the field in that set of medium compounded tyres. But everything is also quiet at this stage. Asacom leading, but for the first time, Evan, Smokey now begins to apply a bit of pressure. Levi, I think, has made a mistake coming out of turn number 4.
Yeah, he's lost the position to Ray. Elite Risks doesn't have a right front end plate, so he's potentially waiting for a safety car. Oh, he's almost piled into the back of Carperson. Runs really deep. And Schloss Gold, as Crispy has said that Smokey and Nick are doing the James Head plan, and his exact words coming from the PSR team wall, if you'd like to say it is, "We ain't solving science PhD level equations." So, James, your strategies are too great for this series.
But then again, if Rusty gets the pace on and then applies a bit of pressure to Nick, Nick's going to be in trouble, and then they're going to have to try and counteract as a result, and literally come to the scenario when it comes to them and appears out on track. And Legend, oh, as my word, Rusty absolutely outbreaks himself in the end. There's no PhD level equations needed now, I think, because Rusty's going to be nowhere near them. Legend then to fourth, Rusty in fifth, outbroke himself too late on the brakes in towards turn number 3. I'm assuming he got caught on the outside curb as a result. And Rusty all over the shop coming out of turn number 4. Had a huge wobble coming out of there, but Rusty there in fifth. Now he has to try and refocus, get into that that frame of mind. He's got Rudy behind him, Legend in front of him, in a Talon Factory train. He could maybe spice up the championship battle a little bit.
Yeah, but his confidence seems shattered after that mistake. There's been another couple of little niggles and wobbles here or there, and it's not really working out for him too well after that mistake here on the 6th lap. He's kind of back into the flow, as we can see through the Red Bull Mobile curve. You can just see little wheel adjustments here or there. That causes a bit too much tyre scrubbing. We'll start to wear your tyres, and it will spin these cars round if it's too drastic, especially on this game. Up the front though, Smokey is going for this one for the race lead. He's going to look up the inside of Asacom, heading in towards Remus for the 7th time here out of 36. Smokey up the inside, he's got that one stopped. Asacom not able to get the switchback done. As look at Rudy and Rusty.
That was an absolute send of the century from Rudy to the inside line. I had a feeling he was going to pull that off. Nick now to the inside line of Asacom's not going to get the job done. But Rudy just about, and Rusty comes back at him in towards turn number 4. You get half as drawn as you quartered out on track. I don't think that really made sense, but Rudy there in fifth. Rusty there in second. Rudy just about comes out on top, but you get as good as you're given out on track. One of them aggressively defending to the inside of turn number 3. One of them then coming back in towards turn number 4. Bit of a fair fight between these guys. They don't want to make it too over-aggressive though, because that'll just end up in a whole heap of trouble.
That will end in a heap of trouble, but that was a very interesting battle. It's now Smokey first, Asacom second, Nick third, Legend, Rudy, Rusty, M-Racer, Aurelian, Arch and Ray, your top 10. It's fairly unchanged, kind of just some positional swaps from qualifying, but still, things will get a lot more interesting. This certainly is the end of this one.
Definitely not. Nick on the back of Asacom, just trying to use up a bit of EOS. Just again onto the back of him. Asacom coming back at Smokey in towards turn number 4. Doesn't feel threatened at the stage. The PSL man out in front. Asacom there in second, doing a good job. Just hanging on there in behind. Nothing really happening. There's not really been any overtakes within this pack. Big old DRS train all the way down to 14th, where Jensen currently is stuck in 14th. And then the rest of the field is strung out like a washing line in behind. Simba Rocks there in 15th. Time 16th, Carl Person 17th, Lee Risks in 18th, and Mosley there in 19th. Mosley, of course, with that early damage after his collision with his teammate, all the way down at the back of the field, down there in 19th position. Unfortunate for him, and he'll be hoping definitely for a safety car to get back into things. Smokey leads, Asicum in second, Nick in third. Nick again applying a bit of pressure. I think we are going to see, though, potential move further down the field. Ray was looking on the back of Arch there. It is going to happen, I think, between one of these two, as Arch looks on the back of Aurelian as well. But all of a sudden, Arch looks like he's got the pace between himself. Aurelian looks like he's struggling slightly. He's got a very low fuel light, I can see. The red light is on that Alpine, and the Red Bull hasn't got a low fuel light, which means he's got more fuel to burn. Therefore, the move could be on, as Rusty was looking on the back of Rudy coming out of turn 1, but I don't think he's get the job done. Ray coming on the back of Arch is not also going to get the job done, so everything that I've just said, pretty pointless.
I have to say, it's getting a lot closer up the top as well. Asicom, I'm not sure if Asicom is being backed up or if he's just driving more conservatively, but certainly Nick is a lot closer to Asicom, as you can see how close he's getting to Asicom. He just runs a little bit wide off the curb. But yeah, everybody's starting to bunch up a little bit. That's a yellow flag through the final corner. That is Mosley, who's actually had a spin round on a fresh set, or a fresher set of medium compound tyres. Things not going well for the Aventas team, as I believe actually time. Oh no, he's not a lap down. Don't know why I thought he was a lap down. He is just far off this humongous DRS train all the way down to 14.
I think my co-commentator, needs to pick up on whose Haas is whose, potentially out on track there, as Tyner's in 16.
He does.
Yeah, Tyner's in 16. He's doing a good job. He's 3.5 seconds behind. He's keeping that gap very consistent indeed. Asicum, by the way, you mentioned he is saving up his ERS. He is indeed. Around 70% of ERS is now. Rusty's on the back of Rudy in towards turn number 3. Really very late on the brakes on the back of Legend as well. Not quite close enough, but Asicum is having to save up because he is running low on fuel. He is having to save up basically a lot more ERS than what he could be hoping for at this stage of the race. But that means he has got more to attack with. Smokey has got 67%, Asicum on 81%, so 14% more. 14% more difference will create around about 5 to 10 mile an hour difference in terms of the speed around here. So Asicum, if he saves up more of that ERS and Smokey just begins to wither that away slightly, Asicum will have more speed down the straight and therefore will carry the momentum potentially to get an overtake done.
Potentially. As on lap 10 out of 36, James, I'm just having a look. It doesn't seem like there's any rain coming soon. There's not a cloud in the sky here, looking back towards the final corner. So these drivers are going to have to start conserving their tyres a little bit. Now, obviously, the right-hand side of the car's tyres will wear a lot more due to there being 7 right-handers and only 3 to the left, and one of those left-handers is absolutely flat. So we may see some tyre degradation issues coming towards the wet patch. And what I'm going to say to you now here is what this long-winded point it was. These guys running in these DRS trains more conservative, your likes of Legend and Asicum, will be a lot better equipped come towards the rain period. Because Nick has been kind of pushing behind Asicum for most of this race.
He has. I think he's been trying to basically signal to Asicum, just get a shift on. Get a shift on. You're costing me time to the PSR man ahead. And Nick doesn't have to worry about his teammate, because his teammate's now beginning to try and actually gap Asicum outside of 8 tenths of a second, as Rusty's picking a 3-second penalty. Both NRX drivers now on 3 seconds worth of penalties as a result of corner cuts. But yeah, Asicum, 91%, he doesn't have to use, he doesn't really have to do much, but there's a fine boundary, I think, between actually going for the move and then being too cocky in staying in behind. And I think Asicum might be slightly leaning towards the right-hand half, the latter half, I think, of that point, as Asicum is in second. He's doing a fantastic job. Do not get me wrong with that. He is doing a fantastic job. He is saving up that ERS, but he's got to be very, very key. He's basically got to be in the game and keeping an eye on what Smokey's gap is ahead, because if that gap comes out of 8 tenths of a second, Asicum will use that battery up to gain winning, but Smokey, if he's got the pace, he could just try and pull away by a second.
Yeah, comment coming in as well from NRX, Oliver Loveland, informing us that that was a double warning from Rusty, so hopefully the penalty can be removed. And PSR Stonk saying overcut by 3 laps is insane. Yeah, we saw that with Mr. Controversial, I suppose you could say, in the PCF1 and in PSGL, but I can't really see many going for an overcut here, because we are expected to run to the rain. Oh, Nick just ran really wide there on my screen. I'm going to assume you're reacting to the same there. It looked like he was going to veer off into the barriers over into the corner. Speaking of veering off, that is Tyne, who is off in the middle sector.
Yeah, that's out of
final sector, actually.
Yeah, turn number 7, end of the middle sector split coming out of turn 7. Fortunately for him, I think he's got away with it. He's just got gravel on the tyres. He can obviously coax that back up and obviously get that car back running again in 16th position. Nick there on the back of Asicum, looking quite close once again. Asicum there still in second. Smokey doing a good job out on track there as well. Crispy saying also in the chat, delete stonks. Not entirely sure what that means, but they're doing a good job right down the back of the field. Nick, though, in third, doing a good job as well. He is trying to now basically force Asicum to either say, you know what, either go for the move or we're just going to back you up into a bit of a full sense. And I think they're probably going to do that. From a PSR perspective, if I was Smokey, I'd just be trying to latch on and get Asicum on the back of me just to back him up into Nick and therefore cause a knock-on effect to the Talent Factory guys and behind Legend and Rudy. Now, of course, they have to do that very subtly out on track, and they don't want to get in trouble as a result. And they're doing a good job. And Nick in third, he has got the pace. He clearly wants to get past Asicum. It's just a matter, I think, of when he wants to go for the move rather than if he's going to go for the move, because that move is always going to be on, but it all depends. As Asicum, again, very much low on his fuel, flickering on and off in terms of the red fuel light. He is saving up that EOS very nicely indeed. And yeah, everything is running in very line of stone sort of mode at this stage. Nothing really happening. Will definitely guarantee you this though. Second half will be better than the first half.
Yeah, what PSR could do, I might be overthinking this, but it depends how much Nick wants to jeopardise his race, as team orders are certainly something that's happened here in the past. Yeah, I tell you what, Legend was real close to him, heading in towards the left-hander. But what PSR could potentially do, if Nick was willing to jeopardise some of his race and potentially take team orders here, and I think it could be what he's starting to do. Back all these guys up, or even better, get past Asicum and start backing up, and then let Smokey run away with things. Let Smokey get out of DRS and just let Smokey charge home. But I think the actual doing of that is a little bit more complicated, easier said than done, as they say. But I have to say, Legend starting to turn on the afterburners, and TF may be fancy getting a move on here.
And actually, Legend made a mistake coming out of turn number 1. He got caught in the inside curb, unfortunately. Legend is doing a great job. Rudy there in 5th, doing a fantastic job as well. Cam Emerson, by the way, in the chat. Not sure who he means by this. This commentator is mid. Where's Joseph? Joseph will be back, I'm sure, next week. He definitely does mean me, and I don't take that to heart whatsoever. But thank you very much for your comment, and I hope you do enjoy the commentary for the rest of the night. Smokey leads the way. Asicum in 2nd, Nick there in 3rd, Legend in 4th, Rudy there in 5th. Doing a great job. Obviously, everyone running the big old DRS train, but I spy, with my little eye, a little bit of cloud cover beginning to build over where the mountain range is, coming from turn 7, turn 8 onwards, coming out basically from where turn number 9 is onwards, and that cloud cover is now beginning to build over the circuit. Now, if the cloud cover's building now, then therefore the rain is going to come probably pretty late, I think, in the race, maybe the last 5 laps of the race, and that could really decide things as Ray is into the pit lane, getting out of this slipstream. So I wonder if he's been told, maybe by Jeff, maybe by, what's the other engineer's name gone? It's gone from me.
Mark Presley. Mark
Priestley, that's him. Yeah, Mark. Ray, though, into the pit lane. Instead of medium compounder tyres on, he's going to get outside of this DRS range, and this means the overcut is going to be the undercut is going to be powerful than the overcut from this stage. I can only assume he's put in this early because of one or two reasons. One, he wants to try and get out of the slipstream train and try and basically fend for himself and try and gain as many positions as possible. Or two, he's been told that there could be a bit of rain potentially towards the end of the race, and therefore he's had to counteract early to come into the pit lane as a result of that.
It's an interesting one. It was well spotted to see the increased cloud cover. As, Nick is coming into the pit lane as well. These guys are starting to potentially stick to their potential original strategies. Maybe the hard tyres are, they're like, right, this rain isn't coming quick enough for us. We need to get off these tyres so we don't screw ourselves over or shoot ourselves in the foot by staying out too long. Nick is in for a set of the mediums. So this is going to get very interesting. Now, they do pose the risk, obviously, of the rain coming sooner rather than later, and those being miles down the field and in the wrong position. But it's a risk you have to take, and there is a lot of risks in Formula One. There's a lot of risks here in the Legacy division, including the man in 18th position.
And look at where Ray is. Ray is miles ahead of Levi coming out the pit lane.
Huge,
it's more than...
He has used a lot of ERS. He has used a lot of his battery there. He's only on 19%.
He has, but look at the gap. It's going to be more than a second, more than 2 seconds. In fact, Tyner's fighting Jensen running up the hill in towards turn number 3 as well. He's staying out on that sort of hard compounded tyres, so he may be getting told a different thing. He's probably not convinced that the rain is going to, or he's probably convinced that the rain is in fact going to come. Jensen probably isn't, and he has to try and make up the ground, of course, that he lost from being basically at the back of the DRS train. Smokey is in, Asacum is in, Legend is in, Rudy stays out, M-Racer I think stays out as well, but Rusty is into the pit lane as well. So the leaders are now in on lap 17 out of 36. Pretty early, I would say about lap 2021, normally for my reckoning in terms of pit stop around here, but Smokey into the pit lane, and he got held up by an Alpine there. Goodness me, that was close. I think there was a rallying coming into his pit box. Nearly got held up there, but there is, on the right-hand side, Simba Rocks coming through in towards turn 1. I thought that was Nick. I was getting myself excited, but Nick in towards turn 1. There he is, on the outside of Asacum, and he's ahead. PSR now run a net P1 and P2 out on track with Rudy and M-Racer and the like still yet to come into the pit lane ahead. Smokey and PSR and Nick there in second. PSR team are now 1 and 2, and that is exactly what they would have ordered as a rally and is trying to dive to the inside line at turn number 3. Thought about the move, but on cold compounded tyres, he's not going to go for the lunge. As Ray now on the back of Legend, is he going to look for the lunge in towards Schlossgold at turn number 4? Not quite, and it's not going to be close enough in towards the corner. Rudy leads, M-Racer second, All Green in third, Lucas in fourth, Simplebox in fifth. Still yet to come in the pit lane. Another question, though, to pose to you, more importantly, Evan. Simplebox in fifth is going to cause a bit of a headache for the PSR balls.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's going to cause an absolute headache because I can't imagine he's going to react to come into the pit lane. Ogween comes in, Simbrooks, no, he is going to come into the pit lane. So if PSR can just navigate this final corner, or these final couple of corners, well, yep, they have. They've got round them nicely. That is all good. They've only lost maybe a tenth of a second, which is nothing really. Still worked out nicely that from Ray. All these drivers had to react necessarily to Ray, as Crispy saying in the comments, lap 20 perfect for pitting. Yeah, that would be that free lap overcut that we spoke about briefly earlier. But this has still worked out okay for Ray. However, he is going to be under pressure with his ERS management as Nick goes through on Smokey. It's a swap for the PSR crew. Nick now the quicker of the two. We potentially thought that earlier that Nick was the quicker of the two, just in the wrong position. But Nick now in the provisional lead in this race. Lucas is going to carry on for a couple more laps, I imagine.
Here comes Rusty on the back of Ray. Ray is overcooked in terms of the tyres early on, and Rusty on much fresher tyres pulls the inside line at turn number 4. She'll get the job done to the inside line. Ray is still there to the outside. Nick makes a mistake ahead, but Rusty is doing his into good job there from the NRX man. He is now ahead of Ray. Ray coming in too early, I think, into the pit lane is going to cost the OP team big time in terms of his strategy. Asacum, though, is in that net P3, but you mentioned there, Nick, having that mistake, that has been done, I think, to try and get basically OP Asacum outside of a second. That hasn't worked, so they're going to have to think about a potential swap later on in this race, and when and if that rain does come, they've got to think about that big time. They have got more pace than Asacum, they've got more pace than Legend, but what Asacum should be worried about now is Legend, right on the back of them, 35% of ERS coming out of the ladder curve at turn number 1. He is going to be running all over the back of these guys in a few laps.
I wouldn't necessarily say it hasn't worked just yet. PSR definitely quickest cars on the circuit at this point, but Asacom is just going to get that slipstream back. What's that, James?
Arch diving it to the inside line on Levi. I thought he was going to look for a lunge, and he did look for a lunge to the inside line, and now he looks to the outside line of Schlossgold at turn number 4, running down the hill now, cascading the way down the hill. The Red Bull tries to go all the way around the outside on the Aston Martin. There's been a great move if the FRA man can pull this on, but Arch there is still on the inside line. Now for turn number 6 at Pirelli curve, are we going to see Levi try to hang around this around the outside? No, we can't, because after Arch is through and he's into 11th. Great move there from the FRA man, great driving and great respect between these guys as well. That's what we like to see. Arch in 11th, Levi in 12th. Very good move as Legend all over the back of Asacom through turn 9.
Yep, and this is now PSR's chance to get Asacom out of DRS. Push, 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 push will be the order from Crispy to try and get these guys dropped. Beautiful move from Arch, by the way. He has been phenomenal today, and he is on the fringe of the point. Here comes Legend. This is going to be a move from the Dutchman heading in towards the hairpin of Remus.
I don't think he's quick enough up the straight. Rudy is certainly quick enough. Oh, and he goes into the back of him. Legend outbreaks himself completely into the back of Asacom. That was undeserved completely. Asacom in the wall. Legend, late reactionary timing. Asacom, 3-second penalty is just overcutting it, I think. And Legend now getting out of the way because he's got left side end plate damage on the car. That was just not needed. It was looking like a perfect move. As I literally said, about 5 seconds before that happened, he didn't have the pace, and now Ray to the inside line is going to absolutely hum it to the inside line at turn number 6, gets the job done. Sadly for Legend, he's got damage, left side end plate. That just wasn't on, and the Talent Factory team are going to be, I think, more angry with Legend and themselves more than anyone else.
James, Asacom does break a bit early. I'm not too sure. I'm not a steward, so I'm not going to comment too much on it, but yeah, it's not good from Legend. It's a rare but costly mistake from the Talent Factory man, and he's plowed into the back of Asacom. That is them both out of contention really here. Legend's quite quick in the lane as we saw, but yeah, not really good. Now, Rusty, apologies, in prime position of Crispy was racing at the PSR 1, 2, 3, wouldn't it? But Rusty, it's now his job to get back into DRS to save the potential race-winning chances of the entire field. And James, that cloud cover is just starting to creep over the Styrian Hills.
It is. I'm pretty much convinced, though. I think the rain is probably not going to come in this race. I think it is going to come. If it is, final 5 laps of the race, lap 30, lap 31 potentially. If not, I don't think it's going to come because the cloud cover is just hanging over the circuit more than anything else. M-Racer was on the back there of Ray as well. That was so unfortunate, though, from Legend's perspective. Legend there in 14th. He's still continuing on. There is a yellow flag. I think that's mostly just getting out of the way of every one of the leaders that's coming through. Lucas, by the way, now into the pit lane. Is he now going to transition onto sort of soft compound tyres, I wonder? Because this could be optimal time for him to pit in. The softs, however, burn out very quickly around this track. They burn out around 5%.
And if he goes for softs.
Yeah,
no,
mediums.
He's gone for mediums. It's way too early for the softs. The softs. Look, Lucas's prime experience of how much they shred, don't they? He forgot to change his tyres at the end of the session, and Lucas is now on a little bit of a recovery drive. 2 cars taking each other out, or one car taking the other out, whatever your opinion is on it, will certainly help him, as Legend has stayed out, actually. Legend is stayed out. Oh no, so apologies, he's gone back to his hard compound tyres. Asacom has gone for a fresh set of slick softs.
Yeah, Jamie Johnson, by the way, in the chat saying that's not an early break from Asacom. The angle that I caught, certainly, I was on board with Legend and he just cascaded into the back of him. Certainly from my perspective, he broke, I would say, about 10 metres too early for the corner, and that is why Legend...
I looked at the replay because of the stream open, and he breaks just before the 100-metre board.
Yeah.
If you want to count that as... I think, like, from a realistic perspective, yes, that's where you break, but you have to remember, these guys are running and they're millimetre perfect with their braking points most of the time. So, look, I still think it mostly has to be on Legend, doesn't it? Because he has just hit the back of a car and sent them into the wall. You still have to pin a lot of blame on Legend. It is the car behind's responsibility to react. But that's not our job. That's the steward's job.
Speaking of reactions, here comes his Talent Factory teammate Rudy passing Rusty to the outside line of turn number 2, up the hill and towards turn number 3 at Remus. Easy as you like, and now this is perfect from a Talent Factory perspective. PSR are gapping outside of a second to Rudy consistently, and there is a swap for the race lead, as you mentioned. That is Smokey leading the way from Nick now in second, and that is because Smokey has got slightly fresher tyres compared to Nick. Nick now in behind, and I think they've done that more than everything else, because Rudy there in third, doing a great job. He's 1.1 seconds behind. If I was in Rudy's shoes right now, I'd try and hammer that Ferrari and try and waste my tyres away. Speaking of which, by the way, Crispy, if the race rain's going to come on the last lap of the race, I'm now not convinced, because the cloud cover is really building over the circuit. My lap 30-31 prediction could be on.
Could be, as all mistake from Nick there. Really interesting. A couple of gamblers in this race. This one's certainly not over for now, as it looks like Rusty may potentially attack Rudy, but I think Rudy he's just gone on to another level. He's just got into his second gear, not from a literal sense. He has used a lot of ERS, but so have the front two. ERS is very low for all apart from M-Racer. He has got about 30%.
Yeah, definitely so. Cameron Cook in the chat saying as well, love you. I hope that's the commentators rather than anybody else in the chat. Arch, however, is going to love a rallying to the inside line of turn number 4. It's Slush Girl. Beautiful move from Arch to the inside line. Gets the job done on a rallying. And a rallying is no mug whatsoever. The Shazoo man does know how to drive, as does Levi in behind. But that was perfect from Arch to the inside line of turn number 4. Easy as you like. And now he's in his own private battle with the 2 in behind. One of them, of course, has picked up a penalty, which we'll run through now. In fact, Rusty on 3 seconds, Levi on 3. Of course, they picked up a little bit earlier on. One of them, however, I think it's Rusty, potentially could get that removed. Ogween on 3, Asacom on 3, and Mosi also on 3. He has not had the greatest sort of race whatsoever. Asacom, by the way, is on the back of his Talon Factory, or his former teammate, I think, Asacom. There's a yellow flag. I think that's mostly just getting out of the way of Mercedes coming through the final corner. But Asacom on the back of Legend. Normally, from a PS perspective, I'd be very excited by this battle. One of them's on a set of hards, one of them's on a set of softs, and this is going to pretty much look pretty easy.
Yeah, think so. And I think this one will be slightly personal, maybe, from Asacom. I think there might be a little nudge off the circuit, maybe, as he overtakes Legend. But that is the battle for 15th, which, if there is rain, it's not the end of the day for those. They might still get in. They can take more gambles now because they quite literally have nothing to lose. But up the front, Rudy is flying, and Rudy, maybe there's still a chance for TF to win this one.
Oh, Asacom dives to the inside line on Legend. Legend just locks up. This should be easy for Asacom, but on that sort of soft, they are already wearing away, and he's not going to make this easy, Legend, to the inside line. We'll turn the timing time off just to see him on the left-hand side. Asacom, though, has got nearly half a car ahead. Legend, though, is going to try and fight this all the way around the outside. The TF man and the OP man now fighting out wheel to wheel, and Legend, in fact, comes out on top. And if you said to me, if I was going to put a fiver on that, I definitely would have put in a fiver on Legend. Legend through these into 15 holds Asacom. As I say, the set of soft compound size is not working. As Van Racer dives to the inside line on Ray to the inside line at turn number 3. The Mercedes on the AlphaTauri should get the job done on the exit. The VSL man coming up through the field very nicely indeed. But now they're pretty much wing mirrors apart down the straight. But M Racer's got to get out on top in this battle. And the Mercedes through these into P5 as Levi's on the back of Aurelian.
Oh, Rusty's mistake. Rusty's almost hit the back of Rudy. He's had to counter-steer the car, just corrected, and now he's lost a bit of time. But I have to say, this has been an impressive drive from both M-Racer and Ray. They're picking up good points for their teams, respectively, at this point in the race. Cloud cover well and truly over this Austrian Grand Prix circuit. But whether rain starts to fall, that is another question. At 27 out of 36, don't go anywhere, folks. This is going to get good.
I did say the second half of the race will be better than the first half. Smokey leads the way, Nick in second. Rudy, though, has saved up a beautiful amount of EOS. 38% for him. Nick's, to be fair, is on the same amount, and Smokey's on 30%. But Rudy, I think, has managed his EOS better as Lucas picks up a 3-second penalty now further down the field. All of a sudden, though, I'm now beginning to see the sun come back through the clouds, which is a little bit weird coming up towards turn number 2 and 3. If the race rain forecast, Crispy could be right. It could be on the final couple of laps of the race. Smokey and Nick, though, leading the way from Rudy there in third, Rusty there in fourth, M-Racer there in fifth, Ray there in sixth, and judging by the sun now coming through the clouds, I'm definitely not convinced that it's going to rain before the end of this race. Legend and Osicom are still in that private battle further down the field. The TF man and the OP man are out on track, doing a fantastic job, but Rusty all over the back of Rudy. Coming through turn number 6, again, sun poking through the clouds through this part of the track. It's a lot wider compared to a lap ago. Smokey, Nick, Rudy top 3, and as it stands, Smokey and Nick, PSL 1-2, exactly what they would have wanted, considering this is their first race, I think, of the season as a team.
Yeah, exactly what PSL would have wanted. At the front with a 1-2, that's a yellow flag for Jensen. Unlucky for Jensen. This race hasn't really treated him too well. He was in the mid-pack and then at the pit phase just lost a good bunch of time. It's not over for sure because Rudy has been saving his battery and it looks like Nick is still the quicker driver out of this front two. I would say Nick has been quicker almost all race, but now a defensive approach has to be taken because look at the exit Rudy's got here, James. This could be a move heading in towards the Slosh goal.
It could be indeed. Nick defends the inside line. Rudy's going to be invited to the outside line. Doesn't want to come forward across, but Rudy tries to outgun him around the outside on the brakes, but in the end doesn't get the job done. And Nick there into second. In the end, that worked out perfectly from a PSR perspective. That was probably judged in the chat and probably in their party right now as being fair. That was fair, I think. Rudy just outbroke himself in towards turn number 4.
Absolutely.
Nick moved across. But it's defensive driving, and that was perfect position of the car at the end of the day, and that's what the PSR team needs to do if they want to pick up a 1-2.
Yeah, that was great defending. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. That was millimeter perfect from Nick. And exactly what he has to do. Rudy slightly outbraked himself. Maybe could have forced himself alongside a little bit more, as that is Lucas, who has gone round heading out of turn 8.
It is indeed Lucas coming out of turn right, unfortunately getting caught on the curb. Smokey still leading the way. Nick there in second, Rudy there in third. Really hope you enjoyed the session, by the way, here in Legacy Division. If you want Joseph and everyone back in the commentary box, we'll probably be vacating it next week, don't you worry. But Smokey leads the way from Nick in second, Rudy there in third. They're doing a fantastic job out on track, these guys. We probably couldn't do as better as these guys out on track, that's for sure. We were former racing drivers, being a big important part in all of that. For Rudy now... You still are.
We still do the odd time trial here and there.
Yeah, time trial to see insights for tracks. I.e. me.
Oh, I do it because...
Because he hasn't got anything better else to do with his life. Smokey leads the way, Nick in second, Rudy there in third, Rusty in fourth, M-Racer there in fifth. But PSR boys now, Smokey is trying to gap himself, his own teammate, outside of 8/10 of a second. That's what's needed, I think, at this stage, because Nick has got 2 lap older tyres compared to Rudy. That's going to be about 10% tyre wear better off from Rudy's perspective, if and only if he hasn't gone too aggressive, as Asacom is back into the pit lane, actually, and is actually down in 17th now. Don't know where he came in the pit lane, but he is down in 17th. He did get the job done on risks running through, I think that was turn number 4, if I'm not mistaken. But Smokey, Nick, Rudy, top 3. Rusty there on the back, running down the hill and towards turn number 4, and a rally, and on the back of Arch. This is going to be a very interesting battle towards the end of the race. Levi involved in this battle as well. And Levi looks so quick down the straight, running towards turn number 4, but in the end can't get the job done. Well, that is going to be potentially the battle to watch out for in 7, as well as battle for the lead. Smokey, Nick and Rudy. And Evan, I'm having a feeling as Mosey retires, that's unfortunately into the pit lane. For anybody that was a fan of a safety car, that's not going to happen. Smokey and Nick, though, out on top. This is going to get pretty tactical, though, I think, from a PSR perspective. And it doesn't want to get too tactical, otherwise they'll end up in the stewards.
Yeah, and Rudy is going to have much fresher tyres towards the end of this race. There's no rain coming, so I do feel bad for anyone who has ran a wet setup potentially here today, because it's not even on the cards. Rudy has the better tyres than the front 2, Nick on 15-lap old mediums, and Rudy doesn't want to attack too early, but also not too late, and you can see...
Oh my word!
The box approach. Rudy tries around the outside. The Dutchman trying to force his way through up alongside the curve. This is going to allow Rusty potentially to attack the Scuderia Ferrari-man. Rudy was absolutely boxed in. Tried it the long way around the outside. Didn't work for the 2nd consecutive time. It didn't work into the Stosh goal. It didn't work into Remus. Where else is he going to try it? Rudy's going to have to try again here. And... doesn't want to fall too far off, doesn't want to start getting tripped over with Rusty, but I have to say Rusty, 60% ERS, still a big shot of a podium here for Rusty, because of course remember that penalty may potentially be removed by the post-race stewards.
Potentially so. I wouldn't rule out M-Racer out of this either. He's there in 5th position and can take absolutely everything out of this race if there is collisions ahead of him, if there is more boxing effect that we saw in towards turn number 3. We're on to lap 33, all the 3s now, 33 of 36. Smokey leads the way. Nick in second. Rudy there in third. Lucas picks up another 3-second penalty for the VSR team, but now Rudy has to get on with this, I think, Rudy, to try and look for the move. He is quicker up the straights in towards turn number 3. He is much quicker than Nick. And do you know what? I think he's going to go for the move again to the inside line. He might dummy him to the inside line. In fact, goes all the way around the outside, but makes an absolute shoddy exit out of turn number 3, and now Rusty's all over the back of him, coming in towards turn number 4. He's used up that ERS, and now Rusty to the inside line of turn number 4, down in towards Schlossville. There should be job done. Rudy realises that. Rusty's doing his into third. That is perfect from NRX perspective. That could be a potential podium now for Rusty if he is to get that 3-second penalty removed. But Rudy, in the end, making his own mistake, I think, in all of that. Got caught on the outside curb through turn number 3, broke way too late, and in the end loses the position to Rusty. That, I think, from a talent factory perspective, just sums up their night.
Yeah, I think it does, and Rudy completely outbroke himself. Really good from Rusty. A couple of comments coming in there, one from VSO Jack saying Rusty getting pen removed. According to Oliver Loveland, who I believe is associated with the NRX team, yes, he can, and Joseph saying, don't make Evan say a number 33. I've been bullied so much for that Irish accent, I'm now very good at it. And speaking of the man in P3, he's got very close to the back of Nick through turn 1. PSR are going to have to defend for their lives on this one.
And here comes the VSR man, M-Racer. I did say watch out for him to the outside line at turn number 3. Rudy boxes him in, nearly cascades him to the outside line there on the curb. And Rudy just about gets away with that again. Far too aggressive, I think, from Rudy's perspective. He got caught on that outside curb, basically rolled it like a Tony Hawk style skateboard, I think, on a skate ring. There down on that, with the suspension, with the floor. basically right on that sausage curve, got caught out on there, and Rudy there down in 4th, M-Racer in 5th, and M-Racer, that move looked pretty much 90% on, I've got to say. Rudy very hard in his defence, very stoic in his defence. They got caught on each other, and that's what led up to that slight collision. I don't think that'll get reported, though. There was hardly anything in that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just hard racing. It's very, very Rosberg, Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc-esque, but, well, two big names to add to that star-studded list. Penultimate lap of the race then, and it is go time. Rusty's going to have to try and get past Nick on this lap if he wants a chance of winning this race.
Jensen and Lucas!
Jensen and Lucas out of the race. That's a controversial crash. Not sure what's going on as they're both parked right on the track. That is a nasty, nasty whack. Very odd one, very odd one.
M-Racer. Oh, Rudy's absolutely sent it on the inside line. Oh, my word, Rudy nearly puts himself into his own grave there and towards turn number 3. Rusty was trying to jink to the left-hand side, or to the right-hand side and towards turn number 3. Massively outbroke Rudy and all of that. And M-Racer's thrown his into 4th. That was perfect from a VSR perspective. Rudy, people have got to turn around and say, what on earth were you thinking there? Trying to nearly close the back of Rusty, nearly force him into the back there. And that was close, as close as you'll get to a massive incident around this track. That was almost as MotoGP's Valentino Rossi, even though the bike missed his base by like 3 inches. Definitely in sort of comparison to that. But Rudy, again, Talent Factory, not their night whatsoever. They certainly won't be wanting me in the comments box next week, that's for sure. Smokey leads the way, Nick in 2nd, PSR want to defend this 1-2. Rusty, though, on the back, has second things. There was a bit of a squirm there from Nick coming out of turn number 1, and now Rusty's running the back of him, but he's got no ERS, he's got no pace up the straight. I don't think he's going to get the move done to the outside line. Maybe out of switch back out of turn number 3, and then running in towards turn number 4. This is perfect, though, from a PSR perspective, and Rusty says, you know what, I'm not going to fight this. Aurelian, however, and Arch, that battle finally get going. They're side by side coming out of turn number 3, and Aurelian gets the job done. He's thrown these into 7, and now Levi, all of a sudden, getting back into this as well, running down the hill. Arch not close enough, but in the end, PSR have worked this to absolute perfection in this race. It's been a brilliant tactical piece of prowess, I've got to say, from these guys. Smokey leading the way, Nick in 2nd. They worked together at this first half of the stint. They've certainly worked for it in the second half, and they certainly deserve this 1-2 as the PSR team come through the final couple of corners. Smokey and Nick, they were added to the team roster for tonight especially. They come across the line to finish 1-2. Smokey wins in Austria. Nick there in 2nd. Had a mistake coming out the final corner there slightly. Rusty there should finish in 3rd. He should get his 3-second penalty removed. If he doesn't, he's down in 6th. M-Racer will then be on the podium. Rudy there in 4th, Ray in 5th, Rusty there in 6th. Asicum is done there, down in 16th as well. But my word, that was perfect from a PSR perspective. Smokey and Nick pulled off pretty much the defensive drive of the season, I've got to say, in Legacy Division. Perfect driving from their perspective, and they take a 1-2, full amount of points.
Yeah, that's just perfect. That is really, really good, I have to say. Everything just worked for them this evening, and Nick's defensive line into turn 3 was ultra impressive, because we saw it with Rudy, forced him to miss his braking point about 3 or 4 times. We saw it with Rusty as well, just forced him to make a mistake, and perfect. Really good for PSR. That's the exact performance they needed to get back in the championship fight. 2 wins on the bounce, Wilson and then Smokey.
Yeah, and that was perfect, I've got to say. I've seen them both drive in Console Tier 1, and that was absolutely pinpoint perfection, I've got to say, from the PSR perspective. Simbarox 1 gets driver A, awarded there the in-game time. It's a bit of a controversial one, because he was really nowhere near in this race. I think it has to go to the PSR team, however. It was a fantastic drive from Smokey's perspective, taking that race win, of course. Brilliant racing throughout the field, even though we had a bit of controversy, certainly toward the end of the race, especially with a certain Dutchman from the Talent Factory team, who in the end outbroke himself more than anything else in towards turn number 3 and lost the position to M-Racer, lost the podium in the end, but it's a 1-2 on the podium for the McLarens. Rusty may finish 3rd as well, but PSR out on top, and with Talent Factory going by the wayside tonight, that is perfect from a PSR perspective, not so great from an OP perspective. Potentially great as well from a VSR perspective. They could latch that podium if that penalty's not removed.
Yeah, great performance from M-Racer as well, I think it has to be said. He's pulled that one out of the bag. Qualifying looked horrible for VSR. Remember, M-Racer just scraped his way in towards Q number 2, but you have to say, PSR were just unbelievable this evening. Really, really good performance. And in terms of the fastest lap point, they won't actually get it. I believe Ogwian will get it, as I think it has to be inside the top 10, so I think Ogwian might get it, but I'll let you run through the full race results, I think, James.
Yeah, he does, by about 600ths of a second, in fact, in terms of the fastest lap within the top 10. Smokey out on top, though, from Nick in second, and Racer there in third. A fantastic end to that race. Really there in the fourth. What could have it been for him, I think, in that race? Ray, Rusty, Aurelian, Arch, Levi, and Ogween top 10. Then Simbarox, tying Car Person, Legend, Elite Risks, and Asacom, 16 drivers that competed. Jensen and Lucas, I have a feeling Jensen got caught in the curb, spun the car, and was literally there. Ghosting system failed, and Lucas was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Therefore, that collision happened. They were out of the back of the field, of course, as well as the man down in 19th position, which in the end of the day, which I'm just going to write a book because I've actually forgot who it was. It was Mr. Can you tell me? Because I cannot get it up on my stream.
What are you?
Mosi. Mosi. There we go.
There we go.
Found it. It was the JR man at the back of the field. Unfortunate from his perspective. But yeah, that is the end for tonight for Legacy Division. We really hope you enjoyed that. I know there were a few comments aimed towards us in the chat. We don't mind that at all. We prefer constructive criticism. I've been very, very tired as well. I was actually yawning halfway through the commentary as well. But to make up for that, of course, next week, Evan, I believe you're going to be in the commentary box alongside one of our regulars for Legacy Division. What? Hungary, are you? I don't know. I'm just maybe making that.
I'm reserve as well. It's a complete reserve lineup for this week.
It is a complete reserve lineup.
I think it's going to be Jota and Callum back for next week. I hope I've got those names right. I apologise if I haven't.
It is going to be Jota and Callum back indeed for next week. That's, of course, if both full-time are available. Next week, though, however, drivers have got to look forward to, and our viewers, of course, have got looking forward to Hungary, which is a very rare track for league racing these days on this game. I love this track. I really like Hungary. It's perfect for racing, perfect for overtaking. Even though there's only 2 DRS zones, it does provide a lot of overtaking opportunities. What can we expect from the drivers out on track? Could we expect it to be quite tactical next week?
100% tactical. I wouldn't expect the sort of race that we saw today. I would 100% expect maybe an unconventional strategy, maybe something a little bit different. But the Hungaroring is a very good track, in my opinion, especially if it rains. It makes everything way, way more interesting. Maybe we might get the rain that we expected this week, next week. But still, I think we're in for a great end to the Legacy Division season.
Definitely so. And I mean, we're only touching above the surface. We're halfway through pretty much next week in Hungary. And then we've got France, Italy, China with the sprint race, I believe, the second sprint race of the season. Bahrain after the Easter break, and then Abu Dhabi, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia to end off the season. I love a Saudi Arabia season finale there for round 14. You are going to be in the best hands. And in fact, actually, Saudi Arabia comes 2 days, or 3 days, in fact, after the UK will win the Eurovision Song Contest in Liverpool. But there we are. Hungary will be next week, though, more immediately, on the 21st of March at 7 p.m. UK time. It will be, I'm sure, really, really good to watch out for. And, of course, Jota and Callum should be back next week, providing, of course, that they're both available. Joseph said, in fact, Callum is working next Tuesday. I thought I saw something regarding that. That's why I said Evan's going to be alongside him in the comms box next week. He said, so probably one of you two. So either one of us, I hope it's going to be you, Evan, because I got some very, very nasty comments towards me in the commentary box.
You didn't read half of what Rudy got, that's all I'll say.
Exactly. But we are going to end it off here. No interviews tonight. I don't think there's been interviews throughout the season, I think, here in Legacy Division. I know there wasn't last week. There won't be this week either. Really hope you enjoyed it, though. Like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you're brand new to the channel. If you want more console tier action and more crossplay action, Friday night is the place to be for console tier 1. And that is going to be the fine.
And Thursday night for console tier 2, please join us. Me and Steve do appreciate you joining us, console tier 2, where we have some very exciting action. Sorry to put it, James, we need more viewers.
You do need more viewers. And that is a very good shout out, I'm going to say, from console tier 2 perspective. Console tier 1 as well on Friday. I believe it is going to be Gareth and Ryan Jacobs once again for this week. So if you do want to tune in for that, of course you can. And that is, of course, going to be at 8 p.m. UK time on Friday. 8 p.m. UK time, I believe, as well for console tier 2 on Thursday, along with Mr. Evan Dalton and Mr. Steve, who is going to be alongside yourself in the commentary box. Of course, we are going to end it off here, though. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, tick that notification bell, of course, if you're brand new to the channel. Congratulations to the PSR team for the 1-2. For a fantastic race from Smokey and Nick's perspective. They absolutely judged that to perfection. Very, very pleased for them. And they take, of course, full amount of points, barring the fastest lap, of course, into next week in Hungary. And that is where we're going to end it off here. Thank you so much for watching the Legacy Division. For myself and Evan, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, goodbye.